see here. So we are starting slowly. I know we got 5 minutes, but I figured we can kind of get our shit together. So what I'll do is I'll click over here. We will hide the video for now. We'll fade on over so it's just you and me. And I will also pull up. I want to pull up your website because I think that's important. Share that site there. Okay. If I go F11, oh shit, what did I do wrong? Wrong button. Aha, there we go. Oh, that's kind of cool. It actually says profane between the two. Nice. And we'll wait to get some people in before we go fucking wild.
Okay.
Dorian sent me a link. It looks beautiful. All right, we are live. Okay, so I'll wait till we get some people in. But anyways, you and I can kind of just chit-chat, shoot the shit. Talk about... Hey, it's fucking, it's Sarah. And you know what's funny is I was told I'm not allowed to say it's Sarah because my wife's name's Sarah. I have to say it's Mantis. Hey, what's up, Bits? How you doing? So,
Mantis. Okay.
Tampa, what's up, dude? Huge talk tonight. Dorian, my man is here. Tell me how the music is, because we're going to be doing a reaction to a well-known streamer that has talked mad shit about... It's fuck Sarah. About the potential death of PvP full loot in games because everyone wants to suck on the teat of the theme park rides. But so we'll get into that. But so we're drinking tonight, so you guys are welcome to crack open one with us. It's Thursday, but I'm drinking something called Miami Weiss. So. Thirsty Thursday, Tampa. There you go, buddy.
I'm drinking sake.
Nice.
And it's a very good one.
This
one is a Jumai Ginjo,
nice.
Which is one of the best sakes. It's not the name of the brand. It's just the name of the sake where they polish a little bit of the seed of the rice, so
nice.
They can have a better tasting. It's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. We got to get you some lights like me now in the background. This is going to become a regular thing. We got Dorian. We're playing Project Zomboid. I know you said you played a little bit of that. And
I didn't play like super well, like enough to talk anything about the game. I just waited until there was an opportunity for me to play with someone else, because I never play games alone. And it feels like a single player. I never do it.
Yeah. I'm getting.
If I'm trying it to see if it's good enough for me to call someone. You know?
Right. So I do have some big news real quick, which I think is important and awesome to talk about because we did hit it on a podcast. Was UO Outlands? I got to get you guys on there so we could adventure. They just did a massive expansion on their map, and I think that'd be a great time to explore some new content with you and Sarah. So that'll be a lot of fun. Hey, what's up? Thank you so much, Marlos, for the follow there. Appreciate that. So it'll be really cool, I think. I'm excited about that. I'll get the links out to you. And then, of course, I did a slight announcement last night, and I'll talk to you about it a little bit, too, is I'm going to be on vacation from streaming from the PC, if you will, for the next week. So when I get back, I'll get you the links. You guys can download it, get everything installed. And when we get back, maybe we can do a night or two or something and kind of dig in deep on Tuesday or Thursday or something. But that, dude, I was watching some friends who play on that. Bro. It's cool shit, dude. They brought in Necro and they brought in Paladin. So nice. Exciting. Yeah, I can't wait. The Necro is pretty cool because how the book and stuff is set up in there. They did some really neat stuff on that. So
I'm just waiting to have this experience again. I knew like when it was like, I don't know, 2007 or so, I was opening up Ultima Online again. And I knew by then that was not going to be the last time, like it's been like 10 years since the first day I played this game, and still it's never the last day you're going to play Ultima Online.
That's hilarious, dude. And after we talked about it, I was like, I said to Dorian offline, because it launched, we did that Thursday, and hey guys, thank you for the follow. and we were talking and discussing about, fuck, dude, we got to go back. We got to go back. You know what I mean? And it was actually kind of funny to me because it was like one of those things where I think what I loved to hear, or what I loved about it, was the enthusiasm about how we started talking about it. But oh my God, you remember? And dude, I got so like hyped for the game, and then I went to go log in. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this yet. I want to bring Sarah for the first time and get him with Bunny, and then just watch him get his ass handed to him a bunch of times and go, see, PvP's okay. So, but it'll be exciting. Because I mean, dude, my whole community, not my whole community, but a lot of my community played it or plays it still. So it's very exciting to me to see, like you said, how at this point in the game, first off, with the Ultima Online graphics and kind of the play, right? Like we talked about, how many people can you say, I showed it to you in 2021, right? Like you and I talked and it's like, yeah, 1997, 1998. And it's like, it seems for shit. My son wasn't even born, man. Right. My daughter was like 5. So it's like, now to know that we could bring Sarah into a whole new world or a new aspect, it's like, that's weird. You know, it's got this purity to it that I'm hoping he gets to see. He's got the mad face. That's great. That's awesome.
It's PvP contextualized, you know. It's not just PvP. Like you're gonna see for the first time in your life, you're having a good reason to kill someone.
and
it's not just like oh, let's gang that guy. We can do that, of course, but it's like we better kill this guy,
right?
Otherwise we're gonna suffer later. And that's like when you have like,
I think Sarah's leaving,
just like as a match as well, like MOBA PvP. It's
different,
like,
though.
Something bigger going on,
right? Right.
That's the kind of PvP that Sarah needs to know. It's not a battlegrounds, man. Not battlegrounds.
Right. It's what's so funny about it too is, and just in generally speaking, right, about slight PvP or buy-in PvP. I mean, hell, what's going on right now is the first day of beta for New World, right? Huge. Everyone's going nuts, ape shit. They're all like, let's go. What are you doing? What server? Everyone's going crazy on my Discord. And what I found to be very funny was the biggest disappointment for me was to hear friends who were sold on the PvP and then to realize it's a buy-in. And then I thought to myself, well, I do enjoy the crafting. It's very, very enthusiastic. But what I really love about, we just talked about it off stream about you holding your pinky up because it's pretentious if you drink, right? But it's like this pretentious, like, I'm going to play the game and I'm going to go in town and I'm going to turn on PvP because that's how you have to do it. You can't be in the middle of BFE and turn it on. You got to go back to town to turn it on. So there's intent, right? I'm going to travel the whole time in PvP because what I like about PvP, and I think you absolutely can relate to this, Bunny, is playing in a theme park game, say WoW, and someone takes your camp. You're like, motherfucker, son of a, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to grit your teeth and walk away. In this game, you straight serious can just walk up and go, oh yeah? And then the best man wins, right?
It's just the beginning of conflict in a game like in a sandbox game.
Yes.
Like if someone takes your camp, it's just the beginning of a gigantic story of two guilds that hate each other
over a camp that probably had like crap loot, right?
The pinpoint is gonna be a massive war 2 months from now.
Exactly, like and that's what's fun. That's what's fun, and that's what I think people really misunderstand. I think this video, when we look at this for instance, right, when we start going through it and breaking it down, his point, our counterpoint, most likely, right? I think we're gonna realize that people think, well, first off, death in a game is not finite. Especially right now, there's no risk versus reward, right? I remember EverQuest, we talked a little bit about that. You know, when it first came out, you walked into Blackbird and you're like, hey, nice tree, fuck, and you died, right? In that stupid pond. But you were like, holy shit, dude, that's 10 hours sitting at the bottom of that lake. I have got to now turn from, this was a nice relaxing night of XP gain, to a holy shit rescue mode and get all your friends to get down there. They die 5 times, you die more. But it's what brought a new dynamic to the game. And to me, and speaking with you in the podcast and with how that all kind of worked and talking about Profane, I'm like, dude, I can hear that's what you guys are building, right? So as a a lover of betas, alphas, helping, people like yourself get the word out. And we talked about that, right? Kind of like how his reassuring, virtuous view is so confirmed or so almost brazenly thought to be true that it's off-putting when you have the counterpoint, right? Like you and I were like, no, we need to get on and talk shit about this because, and nothing bad about him, but we need to get on and talk trash just because our point is valid too. And I think we're going to come across very similar with our reassured and foundational forth-putting of our opinions, right? So I'm excited. Let's dig into it, guys. Welcome to the stream. For all you newcomers, thank you so much for the subs. Thank you for the follows, of course. And hopefully Bunny and I we're working on behind the scenes of possibly looking into doing possibly a podcast. Sarah's not here to start saying no. But we were talking about doing some really cool things. Thank you guys so much for the subs. Seriously, I do appreciate it. I am excited to have met another person who has the same amount of enthusiasm about what's going on, right? So I hope you enjoy this breakdown. Hopefully it'll be the first of many types of breakdowns or discussions. And if you like this format, maybe we'll do this format and then we'll break it out and I can extrapolate and then do it on a podcast, or we'll figure that out. But I know he's excited about creating content and getting the word out. And really, if we can sit and have drinks together and bullshit with the boys, there's nothing easier, right? Nothing easier. So I'm excited. Thank you guys. Holy shit. I didn't even realize. Guys, quit doing that. You're making spam and we're trying to talk. No, I'm joking. All right. So as you can see real quick, let's do the profane hype. What we have is BunnyJoker, as you can see right over here, and right down below, he's got it. He's got the, it's actually upsetting. I'm kind of sad because his beard is way nicer than mine. Look at this.
Is it?
It's disgusting. And I had a beard that long, but because I have to work for somebody and not be the CEO, the lucky bastard, he gets to have that beard of just greatness. So welcome, my man. Welcome.
There was this chart I saw once that said, like, the big question was, should I shave? And then the first question was, do you have a big beard? And then you go to yes. And then it asks, do your partner like it? And then you go to yes. And then I went to yes. And then it was, you lucky bastard. It just, like, there was this whole other thing on the chart.
That's funny.
You could go through a lot of questions, but this one, like, for me, was just like, yes, she likes it. You fucking lucky bastard.
I know my wife hates it, by the way. She hates it. She despises it. She's like, I want scruff. You look nice like Ben Affleck if you have scruff. And I'm going, I'll never be Batman. Never. But yeah, so guys, again, thank you for that. We hit the sub goal. Holy shit, by 207%. Fantastic. I couldn't do it without the community of Profane. You guys are great. Thank you for coming on, hanging out, being a part of what is hopefully going to be the best MMO coming out. Like, I'm not going to lie. New World's great, but it's a theme park thing, right? This is a PvP game. So let's go. All right. So is there anything you want to kind of clear the air with at all? Like, before we get into this and I bring up that screen, I know you have a special all stop word. Do you need me to give you a special all stop word if we start calling people out by name?
Yeah, well, probably a good thing.
Okay.
For you to, like, to hold me back if you feel the need to. It's not going to be a problem for me. I want to just pinpoint to everyone that English is not my primary language, so sometimes I just keep trying to find a word that I forget, and like, probably you can help me out if you think you can. Sometimes it just doesn't come to mind, and well, I'm gonna, like, it's hard for me not to criticize other games when we're talking about other games.
I understand. I completely do. And
if it's okay to say, like, this is stupid, this is not cool, then everything is going to be okay.
No, I think we'll be great. And guys, also, you have to understand he's from Brazil, right? So his Portuguese is his number one language, and his secondary language, or maybe his third, because I think he's an overachiever. but I do know it's English is definitely one of them. So, you know, don't, and it's great that you come on. I have a lot of friends who are definitely out of the country. So if you're struggling with a word, we'll work through it. Don't worry about that. I know a lot of people feel a little self-conscious when they're trying to kind of go along with someone who speaks really fast, and I definitely do that. So real quick, before we get down to this deep dive of PvP, first off, and actually, Dorian, my mod is right. I can barely speak. Are you kidding me? This is my first language and I fuck it up all the time. So we're going to hit this, but great. And all I got to say is holy shit for the sub train. You guys are incredible. 20 subs coming out. I'll welcome you guys at the end. I want to get into this quickly. Hyper, thank you for the raid. Thank you for the support, you guys. It's absolutely fantastic. If you guys just got in here, welcome. We're going to break down a very well-known YouTuber who is very, very opinionated about where we are in the world with full loot PvP games. And if you've come over from the profane, you finally, if you haven't seen his face, this is the man, the myth, the legend, Bunny himself. So soak it up. If you guys like it, blow up the Discord, because trust me, I'm a content creator, and if he's willing to come and create with me, this isn't a thing. It's going to be an awesome thing. So that's my little suck up ploy. But yeah, welcome Raiders, welcome guys, welcome to the community. Thank you so much. And so we're going to bring this page down. We'll get into that maybe a little later if I get him drunk enough and he starts talking about his game and blowing secrets out. And then we'll ban Sarah from my Discord and from the chat, and we'll go nuts. Okay. No, I wouldn't do that. So, all right. So the title of it is Why Hardcore Full Loot PvP MMOs Fail. It's by Josh. He's a well-known opinionator of the community and the different types. And I've watched him before. We joke he's got that the English British coffee tea and you know, so you'll see it. We are not going to attack him. We are going to attack his opinion. Because we always say opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. All right. So that's my belief. We're going to go full screen. I'm going to take down the music and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start. This is the beginning. He's kind of going to go over some things, and but we will not attack him. Please, in the chat, let's be careful with that. My moderators are not like psycho strict, but you know, just be cool. And if you guys have questions, highlight my name at me, and then I'll see it. And it's a bunch of different gameplay serials, so don't worry. We'll get this is his video, so we're gonna break it down. And if you need something from me, we can pause it, we can hit questions, but just hang on, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Dreyfus. Josh, what a dick, huh? No, I'm joking. Be nice.
Hey, Ox, let me tell you something. I'm getting the audio kind of.
I'm gonna bring it way up. Don't worry. Yeah.
Glitching a little bit.
It will. Yeah, it will, because Discord's shit. So I'm bringing him up. Don't worry, we'll get through it. The video's gonna go way up.
Someone would make a hardcore, full loot PvP MMORPG. The kind of game that doesn't hold your hand, where death is around every corner. And they know that if a company made that, every player would play it. And I try and explain to people every single time that these games exist. And they do not do very well because they don't appeal to the casual player base, and the hardcore full loot PvP MMO player base is not as big as you think.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Hold on. That's bullshit. We may be few, but we're a large thing to contest with. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, he's already started off wrong.
Yeah, like the first thing he says, like he's like doing the speech of someone that comes to him and say, "Oh, if a AAA company makes a super big sandbox full loot open PvP MMO, everyone will play it." There's no game like this. Not a single game that everyone will play. Like, he's already trying to like diminish the importance of a niche game, which it is.
Right.
Like, MMOs are niche. Like, every kind of game is niche. Like, there are more casual games. Games that are not casual, but like, this is a niche game, and like, it's not like everyone will play it. Like, when you say everyone, it's probably everyone that likes this kind of game. You know.
Right.
So it's not everyone.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, and I will say this though, Fitz is slightly true. Now, Fitz, we aren't the big pendulum that will swing, okay? But there is a massive amount of people who really do indulge and do still like it. Example. Bad examples, but they're examples. So hear me out. Conan had the potential to be a phenomenal game. And it wasn't the people who ruined it. The game was ruined by the developers. Am I wrong? I mean, no. Conan in the beginning was kick-ass. They had to do balancing. And the problem, I think, is with that one is they didn't know how quite to balance it. Darkfall. I'm just going to go through them. Darkfall, you and I loved. Dorian played the shit out of it. Loved it. Great game. Shitty development team. I would tell them if they were sitting right here, grab their new the potential for greatness. And they did what, 3 revisions? So we as a group are dying off because the games that have come out for full loop PvP have been shit. Example, and I'm not going to use the newer version of UO that they've kind of done, made you like the 100% LRC suits and stuff like that. But if you look at UO Outlands, which you and I were talking about doing a spotlight on with Sarah and getting Sarah's ass kicked, and indulging in that excitement, bro, that they have so many people that play that game right now. It is massive, massive. So I think it's an unfair stance to say unequivocally we're a niche. That's not a very fair statement. Do you agree?
Well, like every game at one point is kind of niched. Like if we take like Battle Royale, it was super niche, man. It was like a mod of Arma 3, wasn't that right?
Yeah.
So like after a while, like it got the appeal that everyone wanted, and then it became competitive, and then it became something else. Like Counter-Strike players started playing open world shooters because of this kind of game getting, like, because of Battle Royales getting big. So it's like every game has the potential of becoming a big game. It will always, like, or at least mostly always, begin as a niche game. It will begin like that. You just have to make a good example of it. You know, like there, like you said, there was like Darkfall, and then oh, you mean like kind of? It's hard to talk about profane when people say, okay, is there any kind of game I can play so I can understand better the game you're creating? And I say no.
Right.
Like any game I tell you to play, you're gonna think I'm creating a bad game because there are no good examples.
Right.
And that's what's happening. Like if you get a little bit of each game, you can understand.
Yes.
What I'm trying to.
So yeah, if you could extrapolate certain high quality and high points, you can do that. But like someone brought up in chat here, Cass, I'm actually going to bring this up right now, and I'm going to do my best to subdue the anger in which I am trying not to portray across camera. Yes, I played it. I was an ambassador for almost a year for those guys over there, and they fucked their game up. There is no, I mean, listen, they broke the game so bad that they stopped supporting the game at this point, from my understanding. And their predecessor on that platform, using their assets and their code, was UO Outland, not UO Outlands. It was Legends of Ultima and that crew, and they had a phenomenal thing happening. It came out free, and they realized, holy shit, the people that modded our server has a better quality game, higher promise of success. So they put it behind a walled garden at $10 a pop for a citizen's pass. Like, call the cops, bro. Call them, because they're ripping people off. And that game turned to shit because they did a lot of dumb stuff. And I walked away from it. I was an ambassador for them slightly for a while too. And I'm like, what is happening in this world where people have a gem that we really love, and you get people in a PvP game that, and I'll say it's such a bad name, but Care Bear It Up. You know, he's laughing. That Care Bear It Up. And then they ruin the game for all the high-end PvPers. Bro, the amount of games that have been promised. Now, to get back on track and get back here, I mean, that was just some sadness that we wanted to kind of... So we're not a dying breed. I think we're just slightly being defeated. and we're getting. Would you say, Bunny, that I think we're getting tired of being fed promises and then not having a close delivery of them?
Well, I would say that there is promise. Yes, this is happening all the time. Like first of all, there is a small company with a good idea, and they start creating this game, and then they need money, and then they need investors, and then the investors want their money back,
right?
And then they have to turn the game into WoW all over again.
Right.
Like they have to go to the recipe of making money, which is
Battle Royale,
which is doing which is maybe just turning the game into a theme park just so you don't take any risk,
right?
Because it's not that if you keep it sandbox, it's not going to ruin the game. If you keep it full loot and PvP, it's not going to ruin the game. If you go far enough, you just have to be courageous a little bit and go far enough so you can add content to the game.
Right.
But before the game has enough content, the only thing that's happening in there, it's PvP, and then the game starts losing interest because PvP has goes only to, so far, and players are going to be grasping for content at a point.
Yeah.
And then before they actually start adding content without changing the rules, they are already changing the rules, and they're already changing the rules because they need to up their game. I don't know, on their mind, they think that the game is not achieving success because the PvP is not enough. But as I always say, the PvP is just a consequence of RPG freedom. It's not the focus.
Right.
You have to ensure that for a world to have its own story, history, I don't know what the difference, but the world to make its own story, the players needs freedom.
Right.
So conflicts can emerge, but there can't be any cool conflict emerging if the only thing you have is PvP and you don't have any other kind of content.
Right. I agree. I agree 100%. 100%.
I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
We are.
I was saving this one for later in the video because, I'm going to be honest. I started seeing this video and I was thinking about so many things based on what he's saying that I just said we're going to have to react about this because. There's so many crazy assumptions that this guy is making that when we're going to have to go through all of them because they're really crazy. They doesn't those kind of assumptions. They don't have any basis. Or at least the basis they have is only on the game he played probably,
or on how the game was played and he could possibly not have won in. We are an instant society at this point, right? And I can blame it. And we'll hit this last point and then we'll move on. I know Sarah's like, not even 1 minute in, but because we love these style games. So I mean, I can see the passion here, and that's important. And I think it's an important thing to understand. And I swear to God, I'm tired of agreeing with Fitz. Yes, if I agree that we're aging out, then that means I'm old. So no is the answer. We are not aging out until these cryptic hands that look like monkey claws from all the hard work I do in the field. It is what it is. All right, we're gonna hit this up. I can't even believe it didn't make it 1 minute, dude. So we'll let it play for 5 minutes and then we'll hit it up. How's that?
Let's discuss.
Let's go.
Before we begin, a massive thank you to the Patreon supporters and Twitch subs.
So we'll skip all that. We're not doing ads here. By the way, we've already made it in 2 minutes and 15 seconds technically, so we're good for another 3 minutes.
You can attack other people without their permission, and this is what many players consider the hardcore part. These are games with very little safety. You are always at risk. These games are usually sandbox in design and feature large open worlds with no central narrative or plot. The focus is very rarely on an overarching story. The focus is on the brutal player versus player combat and the risks that brings. There are games like this out there right now. The sci-fi space game EVE Online has its high-sec and low-sec areas allowing players to destroy others. Mortal Online 2 is a game built around crafting your own weapons and then killing other players or hunting down NPCs. And the upcoming New World and Ashes of Creation are both putting heavy emphasis on the player versus player aspect, allowing factions to control territory and fight others for dominance. These types of hardcore PvP full loot MMO games do exist. There is a market for it, but it's nowhere near as big as the vocal minority would have you believe it is. The MMORPG genre is relatively niche within the gaming landscape in general, and the hardcore PvP MMO players are even more of a specific niche within that. Fans...
He paused, so we're good. You go ahead.
Okay, first of all, it was just talking about Mortal Online. You craft stuff so you can go around killing players. That's not... that's the mentality that goes within the whole concept of the how fail it is. It's not like this. It's not like you craft items to kill people and hunt NPC down. Hey, what are you doing on theme park MMOs? You're hunting NPC down because every mob is an NPC. You don't have to talk about this way. Just because you're trying to put a little bit of emphasis on violence inside those kind of games. It's just that it's inherent of freedom. You don't have to do that. He's telling you that on Mortal Online you have to hunt other players down. It's not as simple as that. You're gonna hunt someone down because if you have a reason. Well, of course, you can't be overall assassin that kills everyone in your path. But it doesn't have to be like that. You can be a crafter. You can be in a guild that has objectives. And based on the guild's objectives, you're going to be killing people or not, or maybe you're going to be helping people. You cannot put this as simple as just crafting gear to kill people.
100% correct, and I think it's very misleading. And truth be told is, I know a few people who all they want to do is just kill people. I know people who are crafters who just want to kill people who are mining the things that they need because they don't want to mine. That's fine. But I think that's a small percentile of the populace who do play PvP games. And as you said, the story of the world is developed by peer on peer, not PvP, but the White Knight Guild that's going to protect the people who don't know where they're at in the world and the newbies. And they come in and they bring that in. And, oh, what's up, Rental? Actual PvPer that I've played games with. It's beautiful. I'm glad that these guys are showing up because they have the same kind of understanding of how things work. But then you get the PvP who's full reds, right? And they're going to go after the blues, and those two fight to keep a dungeon ready to go so the locals can go in the dungeon. And by locals, I mean like me. If I wasn't a PvPer, but I was a crafter and I needed to get in there. That's the point that I think a lot of people are missing is... It's not all about PvP. Yes, it's a PvP game, but it's a sandbox game first. And that's where we're losing the potential to have a great game if we start off saying, it's full loot. Oh, no. Because I have friends who only craft. And that creates content for me because I have to keep her safe so she can forage, right? That's the story. And people don't understand... that you're the story, right? You're the story. You're the person. You're creating it. And the theme park games have created the ability to not be the story, but to follow along with the story. And that's, I think, how we have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Right? Right? I mean, shut up, Dorian. That's not PvP games. That's just me playing a survival game and I hit you with a grenade every time we're in a base. You're the one who's dumb enough to keep playing with me. So we'll move on. But one thing he did say that I kind of really, not offended, that's a harsh word to say, but he's like, hardcore PvP. And I'm just like, what does that even mean? To me, hardcore PvP means a completely intentful, only PvP. And there are those people, right? Those are those people who hate their life. Their wife beats them at home. And the only place that they can have power is in the ones and zeros that make a picture on your screen. Those are usually the guys who do that. But I digress. So let me hit play. Let's continue. This is getting good. Chat, thank you guys for being EverQuest is not full loot. Be quiet. Get out of here, Suwu.
Of the hardcore full loot PvP design like to claim if only a big company made a good game in that style, it would succeed. But let's just have a look at some numbers against your claims. Let's take Activision Blizzard and look at the 2020 finances. This is the financial report available for all to read online. On page 31, you can see the following yearly increases listed. World of Warcraft made $186 million more than last year due to Shadowlands. But look just above. The Call of Duty franchise made $1.7 billion more than last year. King Games Candy Crush, also owned by Activision Blizzard, made more money.
Hold on. I get what he's doing, and he's trying to show how the MMO environment is niche, right? I get that. The problem that I have with bringing in all this data is it dilutes the point, right? So
Totally.
So telling me that Candy Crush, because grandma has nothing to do and found out she has an iPhone and can go collect 3, that's just kind of unfair because it's a different type of play style. And that play style has had a problem with fucking kids buying crates and becoming addicted to gambling. What the fuck?
He's comparing MMOs with casino games.
Yes.
Like this is like, of course, Candy Crush makes more money. It's a super casual game. Like I'm probably gonna sound like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones right now, but casual is a ladder. Like you cannot compare a game. Like if you try to say, Call of Duty will fail because it doesn't have as much users and as much revenue as Candy Crush. Like my grandma plays Candy Crush. Everyone I know played Candy Crush.
I play it when I poop. I'm just saying.
Like they're making a lot of money.
Right.
And then it tries to compare like casino, like games made to make money, with a game that is trying to be a genuine game that tries to deliver immersive experience, to gamers. Like it doesn't have nothing to do. Like I understand he's probably going to try to compare how the chance of success of a casual game has on top of the other one, but it doesn't make any sense if you for me, if you have enough money to pay your bills as a developer, as a team developing an MMO, if you make enough money to pay your bills, to keep your game evolving, so you can hold a very and nurture and evolve and keep a healthy player base. You don't need any more money than that. Like Candy Crush, I went to GDC, like Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, and there was this one of those palestras. How do you say this in English? Conferences where they were just saying that they was investing $5 million for marketing per day, so they could make $50 million per day back. Okay, this sounds like a casino for me.
Yes.
And it's like, give me 1 day of revenue of those, and I can make you a full MMORPG. We don't need all of that. We don't need all.
But I think it starts with standards, though, right?
Make a good game.
But it starts with standards, and I think what you did with Profane, and I want to work that in, because you had a game, as you said on the podcast, that was basically ready to go, and you were like, whoa, but there's no future here because of how it was coded. We wanted to pull back, redo, and then launch for future success. So I think the way you were planning wasn't for the minute or the moment, it was for the future, right? So I think when you're planning for the future, you have to code a certain way, you have to develop a certain way, assets have to link up a certain way, and all the cool stuff that make what you guys do to make a game, right, in your studio. But if you're talking Candy Crush, you're just like, how do I get that fix? And the algorithm's already written. You know how many games that you start a game, they give you 500 gems, they say, hey, build this, and you build the armory, right? And then once you build the armory, they're like, okay, good, great, you know how to build an armory, now build this, and now use a gem to speed it up. What'd they do there? Just right here, they start hitting you up on the vein, and you're like, holy shit, okay, well, if I can do this, then I can go this farther. And what do we call that in this society or in this world? It's pay to play, right? It is the worst thing you can do as a developer in an MMO. It'll kill it. Like, example, I know we were talking about Arcade, but the new Arcade, oh, it's not pay to play. It's going to be great. No worries. What'd they find out it was? It wasn't pay to play. It was how many accounts to play. And so everyone had 6 accounts by the end of the week because they realized that's how I could go and develop my character faster. And it was like, I need another one. And then now you're tapping into the vein. So I think what makes a game successful is really it's got to come from the studio. And it's being true to your roots, understanding that the people that went through the alpha, the beta, back to the alpha, like yourself, and then coming into the new beta and that development, understanding, and it's proving to them. And I don't know how you do that, right? I'm not you. I've not done any research, but for me, from a content creator or me, a consumer, I talk with my stream a lot about, hey, why do you like this game? Why do I like the game? And I always find myself wrapped around community. And what people don't realize, until your off-screen point, PvP is really about, can you fit into a community on one side of the sect? PvP, hardcore PvP. It's not PvP or no PvP like New World. It's PvP or the hardcore PvP. And PvP, in my definition and how I feel it is, it's understanding risk versus reward. We said this on the podcast. Don't leave home if you can't refuse to lose it, right? I mean, that's just kind of it. I just don't get how people... I don't get how people can look at a PvP game and say, I can't play. I don't want to lose my stuff. Is that the kind of person you want playing your game, Bunny?
You know, the person I want playing my game is people that are looking for an immersive experience. You know, one that they can be creative in. So, like, if the game is dynamic enough for them to feel that they can explore their own creativity in a way that they can pursue their own objectives, and if the game is good enough to show people that they can do that and not like people just getting lost in there, that's enough. That's enough. Yeah, I don't need anything else like from players. I just want to show them that they can grasp a little bit of real experience and real story, build with their friends inside a universe. You know, like if you have there are a lot of friends of mine that I've made playing sandbox MMORPGs, and those friends. Like when we get together to drink a beer and stuff like that, we actually remember of things we've done.
Yes.
Like together, you know. And that will never going to happen in a game that tries to hold your hand all the time, because you're going to be holding hands with the narrative. Those are the games that like try to put down any kind of unique experience you would have, you know.
Right.
So I know I'm a little bit off the point of your question, but like I want players that seeking this kind of experience. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Right. All right. So back to the video, and I know we veered a little bit, but I felt we should just dive a little deeper in that. But so where we're at right now in the video is he's trying to explain how we suck as MMO players. Not really, but basically in a monetary fashion where we stand in the gaming world. And I think it's an irrelevant point. So back to the film. Let him finish his point. We'll continue.
Than World of Warcraft. This table breaks down in millions the income from each source and the total. Blizzard are consistently the weakest aspect because World of Warcraft, one of the most profitable MMORPGs in the world, is tiny compared to Call of Duty and Candy Crush. The highest earning video game in 2020 was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, raking in $1.9 billion, followed closely by FIFA at $1 billion, then Grand Theft Auto 5 at $911 million. Then you've got NBA 2K21 and NBA 2K20. In fact, there are no MMORPGs on the top 10 list. But if you think that's a lot, it's nothing compared to freemium games. In the same year, Honor of Kings, a Chinese mobile game, made $2.45 billion. Peacekeeper Elite made $2.3 billion. Roblox pulled in $2.29 billion. Hell, even Gardenscapes made $1.4 billion. Gardenscapes made more money than Call of Duty, which made more money than Warcraft. To put that into perspective, Jagex, the company behind RuneScape 3 and Old School RuneScape, reported income of $110 million in 2020, one of their most profitable years. Wow. RuneScape made 4% of what a freemium mobile game made. MMOs do not make that much money in the gaming world. What MMORPG players tend to forget is that the MMORPG genre is actually relatively small within the greater gaming medium. You can even walk into a game shop and say MMO to someone, and a regular gamer might not even know what you mean. The bigger MMOs like The Elder Scrolls Online, RuneScape or Final Fantasy XIV might attract millions of players, but the more casual games like Call of Duty, FIFA, or one of any Battle Royale games will attract hundreds of millions. The MMO isn't a casual genre, even though it does have casual players. Despite being massively multiplayer, it's not massively popular. And now, let's break the niche down even further into MMO players who specifically like hardcore full loot PvP games, and you end up with even fewer people. Again, I'm not saying there isn't a market. I'm saying it's not massive. When a hardcore full loot game releases, like Life is Feudal, Mortal Online 2 or Albion Online, we do see a surge of players at the start give it a go because novelty is interesting, but these games then struggle to hold on to players because of some of the design issues with full loot design in an endless game. The MMORPG is known as a forever game. It's designed to be played forever, and because of this, it needs to have gameplay loops that can be repeated but don't actually change the game that much. You cannot destroy a dungeon and prevent others from ever using it. You cannot permanently kill an NPC shop vendor and prevent other players from trading with them. You cannot kill a...
All right.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's trying to say that if you don't make billions, you're gonna fail. Like, this is crazy, man. Okay, you don't have to make billions to make a successful game, man. Like, if you try to compare, he's trying to say that amongst the MMO genre, like the hardcore MMOs are even less successful. But if you try to compare, like, how many games that are not hardcore PvP, full loot, sandbox MMORPGs fail a lot. Like, just open the list of MMOs in MMORPG.com. There is unlimited number of MMOs that try to follow the same recipe as World of Warcraft, and they failed.
Right.
Like, why? Because they were fighting with the one that made it right, and like, they're not trying to invent nothing new. They're not trying to bring anything new to their game, you know. And when he says, like, he just bite his tongue, in my opinion, because when he says that Albion is struggling to keep a player base, or like,
holy shit, no,
and then it falls down. Albion is continuously growing like crazy. So what is he saying? Like, he's just trying to pick up, like, on the same soup. He's trying to put Mortal Online and Albion and other one that wasn't that successful, and he's trying to say that none of them are successful. But Albion is super successful. I met the CTO of Albion when I was on Germany on Gamescom, and he actually went to our stand. So because he saw Profane and he saw what it was about, and he went there to talk to me, and he said we're making a lot of money. he just said to me that, like, on the moment we went free to play, we started making a lot of money.
Right.
And I said, oh, that's nice. Well, you're being successful. Nice. So
that's a good question. Suwu and a couple other people in here have said, well, how do we define success? And I think what that really matters is, and I'm going to say this just plain flat, their opinions. We are looking at an opinion piece, right? So what he might consider a success, let's really break that down. Can you play any of those MMOs on a PlayStation? Can you play any of those on an Xbox? For the majority, the answer is no. And so if you take that's literally like me saying, well, you know, it's like a per capita statement, right? So if you go to New York, per capita, you have this amount or of this. So I think really what the diversity here is we're running into how we define, first and foremost, the subgenres of the MMO, right? So if we take MMO as a whole, I think it's very successful as a whole, right? So you would include every type of MMO. You would include Korean grinds, you would include Asian grinds, whatever you want to call them. The terminology doesn't matter to me. But what we're doing at this point is we're subcategorizing the subcategories, and we're bringing in PvP, saying that it's not first tier, not second tier, it's third tier subcategory, and it's not successful. Well, the truth of the matter is, if you consider paying the bills, keeping the lights on, having enough to then take your special other person and to dinner and pay all your staff a very good living wage so they can do that themselves, and then you have people playing your game and investing time and money, is that successful? Who gives a shit, right? Because it's. I think the problem is we have been looking since WoW came out and became the titan in the genre of MMOs. What have you heard up until probably 10, maybe 8 years ago? They stopped trying to do that. Oh shit, this is the next WoW killer. This is the next WoW killer. And so if you go in thinking that this is the next WoW killer, you're going to go in going, well, where's my expectations? They're not being met. Okay, I'm gone, right? And that's kind of what happened with Albion. If you really think about it, with Albion, it came out and holy shit, boom. And then it fell off because I wanted it on my iPad. So when I take a dump, I can get on and play. I mean, let's just be honest, right? Okay. And then they didn't. And it took how many, 2-3 years to get that out? That's fine. But they did go free. And I can't even go into a basic ass city and not have people load in and load out because there's so many people. To me, if their success is a lot of money, like he said, then he's winning. And quite frankly, if Profane comes out and you hit that success, there's nothing to compare it to except your goal as the CEO and your development squad and how they handle it, right? And then of course, how happy are the people playing your game? Because if they're not, they're going to leave. They are.
Yeah.
Right?
And a sandbox game needs people.
Right.
Much more than a theme park game.
Right. So I think I do agree. I think there's a lot of weird pluses and minuses brought in so far to convolute the point, to change or nicely put some haze around the point. So we'll continue, but that kind of bothered me in a way that I don't know, man. I guess if you got to make a 17-minute video, you got to bring other facts in to kind of help your point along. I don't know.
Player so hard their account deletes itself. The world will reset to its standard equilibrium often enough for players to not get frustrated, and because of this, any change to the world is never permanent. If permanent changes could be made to the world, the game wouldn't be a forever game. If it had the potential to break the game for every future player, it wouldn't survive long. You wouldn't get new future players. This means PvP isn't about total domination of a town.
Just for a brief moment. Like, you cannot make this assumption, man. Because, like for me, a game that doesn't change is the game that is going to die quicker. Like, that's the game that you're going to get sick of it. As soon as you enter every day and see the same stuff, that's why they always say, "Oh, keep playing. When you reach max level is when the games begin." That's a lie. That's when the game ends, and all you did is quests. That's all you did the whole time, man. And then when you get there, there's a little thing you can do, which is like repeat a dungeon forever, or play arenas forever. That's what happened to me on World of Warcraft.
Or it was dailies, right?
What I believe, like he doesn't know this. Like I don't blame him, but he's making assumptions. I don't blame him because he doesn't know about game design. He doesn't know that you can make a game where you can let things change with a certain amount of rules, where the story can actually change and the change can be made by player actions.
Right.
He doesn't know. He doesn't understand this concept. That's why he's saying that.
Right.
Like, he's trying to take World of Warcraft and say, what's happened? What will happen if players can change this? It will ruin the game. I agree with him. It will ruin the game because the game has a fixed narrative. If players start messing with the narrative, nothing's gonna be left out of it. You know, there's not gonna be orcs versus humans anymore.
Right.
Like guilds versus guilds. That's what happened on sandbox games.
Yeah.
Like guilds are killing guilds. The guilds are fighting for territory. Like there's conflict happening. Like the story is not on the hands of the developers. And like what the developers have to make is a game that can change and will not break. And that's exactly what he's saying. But on the contrary, he's trying to say that if the developers allow the game to change, it's going to end quick. They have to make the game in a fixed manner. Otherwise, the game is not going to last. And I don't agree with one word. My line of thought is completely the opposite. If you don't make the game dynamic enough, you can release expansions to keep the players on the illusion that they're having something like some new experience, but you're still doing new quests. Like, okay, when you reach max level, it's when the game begins, but then you reach max level, and everyone wants an expansion because the game didn't begin, and now you need to level up again.
Right.
That's the crazy part of it, you know. So if you do a game, if you create a game where there is rules for how the dynamically changing things happens in there, like without chaos, of course, but in a way that players can fight for territory, players can get control of things, of items, of artifacts, and then they lose control of those artifacts at one point. And then things like if you build a world that is made to constant change by the hands of the players, then you can have an MMO
there's personal investment. Right. There's personal investment. I think a lot of the problem is what we've done is very similar to it's a WoW, right? They tried it with the garrisons. I know I'm not going to bring that up, but like they tried it with the garrisons in WoW, right? Like I can invest in me. I'm making it about me. So there's that selfish thing that I think a lot of people have. And a lot of people don't realize that, but before I met my wife, I didn't go around going, how can I make her life better? How can I make her life better? You know what? What about her life? No, I said, holy shit, she's fucking hot. She's got a big ass and I want to be with her because she will make me better. And then in tow, she said, hopefully not the same thing because I have no ass, but you know what I mean? It's like we go into the act of love to what? To improve ourselves. Not to make the person better. No one starts a relationship that way. And it's the same way with PvP, right? How can I be better? Well, if I don't ever get engaged and I don't ever bring out good armor or equipment, I'll never be good. I'll always be slightly behind. So one thing that we've learned in PvP is if you and I are exactly qualified to do so, okay, and like say I'm the best swordsman and you're the best swordsman and we go toe to toe and we fight for 14 hours straight, that's not fun. So now you bring in story, right? What we were talking about earlier. You're going to bring in, I need a good crafter. I've got to help that crafter get things to make me that better sword. So when you and I go up against each other again, I have a +1 and you don't. That will make a difference. And I think a lot of people just don't act under the understanding that that's what you need. So I agree with you 100% on that perspective. I do think that there's a point. I don't know if it's like he got scarred and was PvP'd over and over again. I'm not quite sure where a lot of this opinion's coming from, and hopefully farther down we'll find that out. So I'm gonna hit play again. I just read, is there sex and profane confirmed? I'm not quite sure where that's going, but I am gonna have to bring it up at the end. We might have to dive into that question.
Forever, or ownership of a mythical item forever. The game needs to reset to standard equilibrium for new players to be able to join, which means the fight is the focus. The moment-to-moment PvP battles, they must be fun. So in full loot PvP games, you have players killing each other to get their stuff. Well, where does this stuff come from? Because this is another design paradox. If you spend hours and hours grinding dungeons and finally get the ultimate sword drop and then another player kills you and takes it, you will become extremely demotivated and not really feel like getting it again. But the player that killed you is now super happy he got a rare sword. One player is extremely saddened, another is elated. Unfortunately for player retention, this has been shown to lead to the defeated player quitting and the player base dropping. Now you might be saying the defeated player needs to just toughen up and go and grind again, but player base...
Hold on, I'm not going to stop long. I'm just 2 seconds to say this because yes, fucking grow some balls and move on. You need to understand that if you're going to leave the village of protection, then you're going to have to worry about risk versus reward. Oh my God. And the average person that gets into PvP or a sandbox full loot PvP understands that fact. I'm going to move on. Yes.
And no, let me just add this one thing. He told everything about, oh, you found a great sword and now you're going to be killed and you're going to lose the great sword. That's the mind of a guy that always played theme park MMOs, because he doesn't understand that there is something, there can be something more that evolving your equipment. There is, like, in his mentality, there's nothing more important than finding the next upgrade
+1,
for your gear.
Right?
Like, oh, you're searching for a better sword for days, and then you find your sword, and then you're gonna be killed, and you're gonna lose it. No, dude, it's not about the sword. Like on a sandbox MMORPG, you're okay. You can like try to find a sword for days. When you find it, you're gonna use it on a war. because there is something much bigger than your gear going on in the world. So if you lose it in the middle of a war, because that's when you like, I'm going to use this sword on this war because there is something important happening here. My guild is trying to take over the whole north part of the continent, and I'm going to have to fight with everything I have. So then if you get killed and you lose your sword, you're not going to get pissed because you lost your sword.
Right.
You're going to get pissed because you lost the war of something much bigger happening. Like, he cannot even understand that there can be something better than only trying to like the thing that theme park MMOs try to bring to you the whole time, which is like, you gotta evolve your gear. So then now you have this sword, but 10 levels from now, this sword's going to be a crap, and then you're gonna have to find a new sword.
Right.
And then you're max level and you have the best sword in the game, but then there's an expansion pack and this sword is now crap.
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's even worse than losing it in a war.
Right.
It's even worse, man.
That's worse.
NPC, man.
That is worse. When I was in WoW and I was like level 100 and went to 105 with the last one of the expansions, and I had like I grind and I got the best, and I was like, woo, and then I came out and the first blue that dropped, I was like, motherfucker, this is way better. That was so demeaning to my time that I spent grinding. So I think what happens is, let me ask you this real quick, just sort of slightly on but off topic with Profane. Do you happen to think, when developing a game, yes, equipment's important, but is it easier or smarter, or is it lazy? I don't know really the questioning there to use, but when it comes to player-made crafted stuff or world drop crafted stuff, when there's so much RNG on that side, because you can only kill the mob that's rare every 3 hours, right? As opposed to a player cranking out to get the best RNG'd weapon, and it's not so hard to get. And do you think if there's a deterioration over time, or a quickly not like abusive quick deterioration, right? But like, say it needs to be repaired or go back to town, it does lose its proficiency. If you're doing a PvP sandbox, do you believe, or would you think you believe, or like to see player crafted stuff be more important?
Of course, yes. For me, like in my perspective, I think that player crafted gear should be, you're in a world where items are a usable commodity. You're not trying to level up your gear on the whole process. That's not your main focus. Your main focus is to try to go after the things you think it's important for you to have a good time in there. So when you're trying to do that, you can probably, if you use good items, it's going to be easier. So when you have a world where people lose items, like items is a usable commodity, player crafted items are the basis of everything you use,
Right.
Like player crafted items is what you use to do the most mundane things. I'm not saying that players cannot craft something better than a rare drop. No, yes, they can. It's going to be rare. It's going to be hard, because even like for you to balance things well, like if a player can craft a super rare sword, they're going to have to use a super rare recipe or super rare materials,
Right.
That you have to kill some boss, or you have to go around the world exploring like crazy person until you find it, and then you can craft it. So either way, in a way, the most important thing is that what is the means. Like the items are a means to an end, and not like trying to get stronger because I want to get stronger so I can make quests easier.
Right. So getting through the quest is easier, right? You're not getting stronger to beat the player. You're getting stronger to beat the environment. It's a different perspective.
And like the game is always going to try to balance it out. Like theme park MMOs are always trying to balance it out. Like you're never going to like feel strong because of an item, because the game is going to be made like thinking like with the planning that one day one player can have this gear, and this player cannot be immortal. So they're gonna balance it out. So you're not even gonna feel it. It's just a fake sensation, you know.
Now, and then one other quick point that I think is important as well. What do you feel about? Because a couple of people in the comments here have made some very solid points. You know what I think. What I don't think a lot of people, or if anybody's actually ever done it, instead of actually making a rare drop, going to your point, instead of making a rare drop, a weapon, you make a rare drop the material to craft that weapon. So now what you're doing is you're adding content to the raid, but then you're bringing it back to the people who make it. So it keeps those crafters and those people tied. So now there's value to people who aren't true PvPers, but love the thrill of going out and being hunted. I had a lot of friends in Albion that we would be out in a tier 7, I think 7 zones, I think they called it, where you can get the really high end stuff. And bro, like it was a damn good thrill when you go get a level 7 tier tree and you're hacking shit down and then 3 people chase after you. That's fun. Like that as a craft, because I was a main crafter in there. That to me was like mind blowing. It was such a new way that you made the commodity itself the importance, not the gear. Right. And I think that's something that Albion did right. Now let's get back to the video before he starts screaming that special word, because he's getting a little frothy. I see it. So we're going to continue, guys. We're halfway through roughly. And thank you for your points. Keep them coming in. They were great debate going on. We're reading that as we're watching. So I do appreciate your guys' participation.
Drops over time have shown the majority of gamers are not fans of hardcore design like this. There is a market, but it's not massive. Most players will instead gravitate toward games which require less time investment and then contain less risk. As MMORPG players either age, find a job or have a family and have less time for gaming, games that demand more time of them become less appealing. Some people have suggested one of the ways to balance this.
Just real quick, Fitz, I don't want you to get excited. He just made a point that you've been trying to make the whole time about we're being old and we're getting phased out. I just calling you out a little bit there. Stop talking about age. You're making me feel old.
This is to have the stats held on the character, not within the items, or to have weapons and armor be easily craftable or achievable, so killed players can restock quickly. But if this is the case, the armor another player can drop now isn't as valuable. You're not getting the super rare sword they spent days grinding for, you're getting the armor they spent 10 minutes crafting. Yes, you've removed the sadness from losing valuable items, but you've also removed the elation from gaining valuable items.
Okay, all right. I know it's too. This is important.
Say something?
Yeah, this is important. So this kind of goes back to what we were building up to, right? So that's important. What he said was, it does, and Dorian made this point in comment in verse of UO, right? I die, no big deal. I lose that. Now it hurt to lose the vanquishing weapon, but the GM gear, well, it's just more money that can go out and grind and be back on my point. Now, this is important, and I'm gonna ask this question to you guys in the chat. To you, Bunny, I don't want anybody to really, we're not going to go down. I just want you to think about it until the next stop. We'll answer that and then go to that point. I think what the problem is in most games since Ultima Online is levels, not skill. If you look, I know. So we'll get into that. So that's something to think about until the end of this, but I'm going to get into that because you know what UO did? UO didn't make it about the weapons. UO made it about being that Dreadlord, or UO made it about that Lord, the glorious Lord. That hurt when I died, not in PvP, but when I died to a shitty blip in the Matrix and a dragon killed me. That's the key. If you can get rid of levels and you can put skill-based gaming in, and also you get fame and fortune and it's a tag, you've made it all about the tag, because now the Dreadlords are going to go after the guy with the big name. That's the key. I'm going to go back, think about that point, because Bunny and I really went down a real deep rabbit hole. So I'm going to save that kind of essence for the end of this. But I do want to bring that up to you guys and how you feel. So think about that. We'll get back to the film and we'll push forward.
Items in a kill. Full loot hardcore PvP isn't a bad design choice objectively. It has its place and there are players that like it, but the subset of players who enjoy this game design isn't enough to sustain multiple MMOs of the size they claim they could sustain. There's a post on the New World forums which sums this up quite nicely. The very first alpha tests were full loot, and it was fun but crazy wild. Lord of the Flies wild. Eventually it devolved into naked fights with epic wooden swords because you didn't want to lose your shit over and over, plus you could run fast. So you would farm and run, and when it was time to battle for a town it was all tier 5 gear, and after battle you loot the bodies. Well, fun and a sense of danger all the time, only safe inside outposts which were tiny. You couldn't be a casual player. It was all hardcore PvP all the time. Basically Fantasy DayZ. Devs got too many complaints, and in 2019 it was completely rebuilt into its current style. This last iteration waters combat down even more. But we can adapt to it. We're capable of that. As we've seen, casual players generate...
Alright, we'll stop here because that was a big point. So, go ahead, Bunny. Take the lead.
No, he was talking about New World, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So, New World, I played the alpha.
And, yeah, I did. I loved it.
and yeah, but if you see it, it's kind of, when we say that if you add full load and open PvP to World of Warcraft, it's going to ruin the game. That's the first, like the main thing about full loot is not just the full loot. The full loot is also needed if you're creating a sandbox MMORPG.
Yes, yes.
They were creating a kind of hybrid game between theme park and full loot. It doesn't work, because if you want to put a game, like the main purpose of creating a theme park is that there is attractions and there is a path you're going to go through. So and there's levels. So right. You're going to be level 1, you're going to be level 2, you're going to be level 3, and depending on the level you are, you're going to have to be on the right spot. Otherwise, you're gonna get ganked by mobs, So like there is a pre-built path that you have to go through. Like this is just like, I know everyone in the chat probably already know what a theme park is, but I'm just bringing this back because when I played New World, it felt to me that I was playing the wrong game to have full loot in. like yeah. I was doing quests, I was doing a pre-made narrative, I was going through like a tutorial that was telling me what I had to go, what I need to craft, everything I need to do. Like for me to go and kill someone or someone to kill me and steal my stuff, it doesn't make any sense because the world's not living and breathing. Like the thing about full loot is that you're giving players freedom to control the world. So if you if players don't want you to transport some kind of item from one place to the other, and they are in the middle of the way, they can stop you and kill you and intercept those kind of transactions, right. and smuggling and things like that. Like there is much more about full loot. It's not just, our game have full loot, let's try to add full loot to this game so we get the full loot community. The full loot community, they just want full loot so they can actually feel that they are in a game where items is not locked for players. It's not one thing that you like. Each player is having a solo experience. They don't want that. So if you mix both things, it's not going to work. So when right. they took out open PvP and full loot from New World, it made total sense. Like I wasn't going to play that game anyway because it was a theme park like costumed as a sandbox, which wasn't from the beginning. Well, so,
I think you're right, and I think a lot of people do it, and WoW's done a great job at hiding that, right? So one of the things that we as a consumer typically will do is that we want to feel we have freedom, but still have boundaries. That's not true freedom, right? So example, when they came out with the Frozen Tundra, what could you do? You can go left or right. That's what they did that tricked everybody into thinking that expansion was awesome. Now, I will say hard mode Lich King was one of my favorite raids ever. But you could go left or right. It wasn't just you had to go from this level to this level. It wasn't linear like Mario Brothers. Like it was like level 1 of 1, 1 of 2, right? And now what they've done is they did level 1 of 1A and 1 of 1B. So because I can choose, I felt there was a bit of freedom, or what we've a light sandbox. And what has happened is we have changed words over time in nature, right? What did we do for a very long time, especially in America, and sometimes our dialects will take off? Lit. What the fuck does that mean? To me, I lit a match. Now, if I go out to the millennials today, lit means cool. It's awesome. It's extravagant. It's cool. Okay, I get it. I said cowabunga when I was younger, and I'll never be able to live that down. Thank you, Ninja Turtles. But I guess what I'm saying is because we've allowed people to think in the industry that you have freedom, that when they really go to a real game of freedom, they don't know what to do. Albion's done that. If you look at Albion, yes, you can choose if you want to go around the map, but what they've done is it's green zones, yellow zones, red zones, black zones, and then holy shit on the other continent, right? So you work into from different angles, but you have a choice of the path that you slightly get to take to the center and then the apex. And what Full Loot has done in the past, you know what, fuck it. Let's just say it. Darkfall. I can pick up a staff and shoot a firebolt, right? I mean, that is true choice. I can pick up an axe and cut a tree, right? And I can go and level that skill up, and then I can decide to build a shield. Now that's true choice. That's true freedom, right? But here's the problem. It's what the maker of Ultima Online said, and I'm going to screw it up, but it's the bunny and the rabbit, or the bunny and the wolf, right? That's the problem that you run into. He's like, oh, it'll be nice. The bunny will come and eat the forest, foliage, and then the wolf will come in and eat the bunnies because there's too many. And then what they have happen? We, the true parasites in America and across the world, who we are parasites, we just consume and consume and consume and go, where's more? And we did it in a video game and we wiped out the population of the forest. And he was like, holy shit, bring back the dynamic spawning, because we realized we've unleashed a bunch of serial killers on the populace of the animals of the world that we've created, right? So the problem is I don't think anybody's ever tried to take what he started and modified it and make it better. And I make jokes. I mean, right now you could probably hit exclamation abuse and it's me kicking a horse off of the side of a mountain. Would I ever do that in real life? No, absolutely not. I would not do that because I love animals, but it's funny because it's not me and I can be who I want inside of the world that I'm in. Right. And so I don't know if it's abuse, Dorian, you're the one who always does it, but here's the thing, guys. I think the education that we've allowed to take place by people who make monetary decisions on how we play games in the PvP world has really what's been the downfall for where we're at. I mean, does that sound right to you, Bunny? I mean, it's like, it's the money makers, and we just heard it today how he's like monetizing the great value of how important MMOs are, but to what value? Where's the ceiling? So if they made 1.90 million or billion dollars, that would have been successful. But because Candy Crush didn't, or superseded by 295%, that makes WoW or the MMO world unsuccessful. I think that's not a good way of looking at things.
Well, I agree with you because, I agree with you, but there is a catch for me. Because
okay,
if you say those guys they want to make money, they left this kind of game on the pitfall we're at. Like we are actually here because there is no good example.
Okay,
I mean, was no good example. Like Albion Online is a good example. I don't like Albion Online. Okay, I don't like it. It's not my kind of game. There's a lot of decisions they made that I don't agree with, but it's a hardcore MMORPG, and they're doing well. Like it's like there's a lot of decisions that they.
Well, hold on. Let me say this. But is it though? It's not a complete full loot. I think what they did was very magical. I think it was magical what they did, because it did give people the feeling of thinking that rush. I play it because it's a rush. Someone chasing me down is a rush, right? And what they did is they said, hey, look, we'll work you into it by zones, right? And then, holy shit, you're there. And that's truly where you're at, I think, as a... yeah, they did fame. You're right. It's not gear, it's fame. But that goes along the same type of consideration when I said, you guys in chat, with titles. So that's where they went right. Everyone else who's tried to do that has gone wrong because they put it level based, and they made a level define me. So I can't start off in a game and go punch somebody in the face. You know, and that's, I think that's what I want. I want to be able to accidentally hit the R key and get killed by something. And I don't know, man. Bunny, I mean, how do you feel about, I mean, verbiage alone, I think, is a very powerful thing. Right? I mean, verbiage. Like verbiage, like, you know, there's wordsmiths. You see it in American politics all the time, right? Or you see it in, you know what I mean? And I think by us giving the ability to use the word sandbox so freely in a sandbox full loot, right? Like you just did it. We called Albion a full loot sandbox, but it's really not. There's a chunk where there is.
The end game is the end game kind of is like if you build, like, you know, Arcade. When I played Arcade, I was like, okay, that's super sandbox and all. And I started playing it, and then I discovered that until level 30, you're not good. You're going to play World of Warcraft until level 30, and then you're going to experience something else. You know?
True.
So, like, that just put me off, you know. But Albion, they pass you through that. If you want to pass through that real quick, you can just join a guild and go directly to the action without things happening. So like without forcing you to go through World of Warcraft process beforehand, you know. So what I was getting at is that, like, there is a way you can bring a good experience, a good full loot PvP MMORPG experience to a player and if you prepare him enough, you know,
right.
That's the main thing. Like, there is no, like, what other games can we say works like this? Like, well, you can talk a little bit about Atlas. Atlas. I don't know how you say it in English. Is it Atlas?
Atlas. Yep.
Atlas.
Yep.
Atlas. So that game, there was a preparation, because if you think about it, like, they actually made a survival game first, which is Ark, and then they saw that it worked, and then they say, okay, let's make an MMO out of it. It doesn't have as much players as Albion, but it's still going with a very big player base. It's big. There, you know.
Yes.
And like, the preparation they made is that if you know how to play survivor games, you're going to be able to get into this MMORPG, which is a sandbox full loot MMORPG, you know, with territory control and all this stuff. You know, like, so it's all about doing it right. Like, if you now let's take New World. New World is the opposite of it. They're trying to show you that you can. Almost the same thing as Arcade. Like, they're creating a game that has levels and have quests and have the same things as the old World of Warcraft EverQuest recipe, and then they try to put full loot in it. It's not going to work. They're not trying to bring the players to something new. They're trying to bring the game to something new. It's not going to work. They had to bring it back.
Right.
That happened to New World. They had to bring it back. Okay, what New World had that made it so different, that made it a true RPG where players could make their own decisions, they had to take it out because they favored the old recipe.
Well, right. And so a lot of the comments right now that are coming through, which I do kind of agree with, and I will say this, true freedom is when chaos reigns. And I think what Albion did in the maturing of their game, right? That's because we're using them as a fairly good example, I think, is they've given freedom. They've given choice of freedom, right? Take the blue pill, take the red pill. You have the freedom to do either one, right? I think that's kind of a fair statement, right? You're going to start off on this area, four main cities you can start off with. And what they did is they said, hey, we'll ease you into it. And then what they did is they said, hey, well, you know, really, and I think this is the first statement that this could be true. The end game starts when you get leveled up. Because if you think about it, if you do level up and you get that gear score up to a manageable position where you're not a detriment to who you're going out with, right? And Zergs, I don't believe, killed that game because Zergs were able to fight Zergs. I was in a very hardcore raiding guild. But I think what they've done in New World, because we did use that as a point as well, or a counterpoint, they've limited the guilds to 100, right? So it's funny because they've given the mirage of freedom. But if you look for someone, example, Mustros, myself, Bunny, we've been playing for, MMOs since Ultima Online, right? 97. So what are we at, 2 decades now as well? And I think you and I have talked about in the podcast how many freaking games we've played. And there's just always this point where we compare it to the nostalgia of what we had in UO. We're like, oh my God. And we're always reaching out for that. And I'll say this, when UO came out with the Barons, right? The Barons chat, right? You always reminisce about how bad the Barons chat was, right? Or Chuck Norris things and all that. But we always do the Crossroads or the Britannia graveyard, right? For those who know UO. I really don't know what that fix is. I'm not a developer. I am a consumer. And I can only speak to the pains and the grievances that I've had in my PvP escapade. There were Barons chats before UO because you'd sit outside, and I just using Barons chats because that's the analogy that we use now when it's really bad chat. But we had that talking trash on the guard border right at the graveyard for Britannia, talking shit to the Reds. That was Barons chat, if you will. But yeah, I think when you go into it, and I'll ask you this, and then we'll get past this point and get back on the video because we're coming to an end there, and we can dive deeper as a more a continuous conversation. But in Profane, do you envision, and I know every time I ask you a question about the game, Sarah's ass clenches a little bit because he goes, oh my God, what's he gonna say? I don't need to go deep, but this is more of the world is your oyster. This is not saying this is going to be in the game. This is not you saying this is something you're looking to put in the game. This could be something that you haven't even thought of for the game. But I'm just saying from your perspective as the CEO and the guy who writes the checks, right? So that being said, the question I have, I am so graphical, I'm sorry. The question that I have for you is, if you're designing a game, and we're going to say a game, and you're looking to relive Ultima Online's feelings, what you got from it, going into Shame for the first time, realizing you can go in solo. What is your biggest concern of how people have been able to develop themselves to understand? Because remember, we didn't know what UO was, right? We either came from tabletop or the kid down the street that said, hey, come be a nerd, check this game out, this is really cool. So knowing that where we are in the industry, how long games have been, people can find ways to manage to get by, sidestep. What would be your biggest concern about Zergs? And if you're going to develop the best game in the world, right? And you're the WoW killer, right? And that game's going to be Bob's Big Badass Bonanza. That's the name of it because it's completely not going to happen, right? So you're going to go out and develop Bob's, right? BBB's A. What would be your concern with Zergs? Do you feel that should be a concern as a developer, or do you believe the mechanics you put in game will help combat that? Or you know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to go as a developer, are you just going to put a hard set rule of 100 in each guild, or are you going to try to develop environmental things that would discourage Zergs?
Thank you for this question, man. I was holding this back for my whole life, I think. So the first thing is, what is the gamer's expectation when they're going inside an MMO? Mm-hmm. Do you want the narrative to hold your hand and bring you through a lot of quests where you kill a lot of mobs? If that's what you want, you shouldn't play a game where Zerg can happen. Because on games that Zerg can happen are games where war can happen. Zerg, like what is, like on Darkfall, what is a big guild going against another big guild? Do you call it war, or do you call it Zerg versus Zerg? That's stupid. Like, it's not Zerg versus Zerg. You only call it Zerg when people like mount themselves and try to break the game. That's why you call something Zerging. Okay. So what is the features the game have that is going to prevent Zerging? Like, for instance, let's talk about WoW. Okay, World of Warcraft. Okay, let's talk about this. Like, do you often see in World of Warcraft, like, I don't know, a gigantic guild of hordes stacking in front of Stormwind, killing everyone? Like, okay, it's not common. It's not common. Why? Because there is a lot of things for people to do in there, and now I'm talking about I'm talking good things about World of Warcraft. But yeah, like one thing I have to give them is that there is a lot of content. There's a lot of content in World of Warcraft, So when if you make a multiplayer online, like a massive multiplayer online role-playing game where everything you have to do is territory control and PvP, Zerg is going to happen because that's all that can be. That's the only thing players can do. If you amount yourself as a big group, you can go out destroying people.
Right.
Like that's everything you had to do. That's the only thing you have to do. So for me, if you're okay, I'm going to talk about Profane here. It's impossible to not to. So on Profane, we don't want the game to be like PvP game. It's not a PvP game. It's an RPG game. When you create an RPG game, you have to create a lot of content. And I'm only going to be happy about Profane when we have enough content that like players have so many things to do that gathering themselves and trying to be a big group killing people around, it's going to be like worthless, because there is so many better things you can do, So and one more thing, for everyone that did not listen to the podcast, and I encourage you to, but there's one thing about Profane as well, like in Atlas and other games like Last Oasis and I don't know, most sandbox MMORPG games, you can go out destroying things while people are offline, and that's the main problem about Zerging.
Yes,
it's not the fact that you were killed by a larger group. That's not the real problem, because most of the times when you get killed by a larger group, you're not going to be wearing everything you have in the game.
Right.
All your items are going to be stored in your house. You're going to have like one gear that you're prepared to lose. So that's not a problem.
Nice.
Like the problem is when the Zerging comes destroying everything across the world, then that's something that we saw happening in Atlas. Like the Chinese gigantic guild started destroying everything, and people were offline. And that's a major problem for me. Like that shouldn't be possible. That's not like you're not living. And that's the thing about like getting old and not being able to be
37 hours straight.
That's not a problem.
Right.
That shouldn't be a problem. Like that's only in the game design. You have to fix this in the game design. So let me talk about Profane a little bit. In Profane, you're not going to be able to people are not going to be able to destroy your buildings overnight. They're going to be able to attack it and take a little bit of its HP, but there's going to be offline protection. There's going to be a certain amount of HP other guilds can take from your constructions at a given time, and then there's gonna be an immunity cooldown, and then you after 6 hours you can take a little bit of HP again, and then immunity cooldown, and so for you to lose the things you have in a sandbox game, which are mainly the your city and towns, or players' constructions and players settling, around the world. There's going to have to be a real war that is happening throughout a month or throughout 2 months.
Okay.
Like you're going to be able to see your base shrinking over time. It's not going to be something that you're not going to be able to fight them because you're a small guild. And one more last thing, I'm sorry, Ox, that I'm taking this whole time to talk about this, but that was a big question. So
yeah, it was.
I have the right.
Now, real quick, because I've had some comments about we're not on the PvP. The reason I asked this is I think this is very important as you guys as developers doing the things that you do to try to combat the mentality of full loot PvP MMOs fail or are dying breed. I think it's important. The reason that you and I are talking about this and the question I just asked you was important because people that want to invest early need to understand your mentality and where you're going. So what I mean by that is what you just described to me in a very roundabout and very a plethora of answers, which I love, is you're doing it environmental. You're not looking to beat the shit out of people with rules and hard set fences. You're just saying, hey, it just doesn't make sense to do that because environmentally, we're designing the game to be fair for, as Fitz decides to say, old people. And because we're not going to play the 27 hours straight because I have to go work, and so I like that. And I think that's really important to understand when we're discussing PvP as a whole. I think it's really important that we do understand why things fail. And if we can at least learn from history, not change it because we can't, but design it better. And then we can, I think, evolve as people. And I think what we have done, like you said earlier, is that we have not evolved as a gaming platform to make PvP full loot correct. I guess that makes sense there. And I think what you're electing to tell us about the game is, in your game at least, is that you're trying to evolve the stereotypical full loot PvP to you are making an RPG that has PvP fundamentals. And so you're trying to change or look to the other side of the building the correct way. Am I reading that right?
Yeah. Yes. Like there are certain kind of rules that you add to the game that if everyone is comfortable about it, you can make it like the story shouldn't be changing on a daily basis. Like the story has to have some time to mature. So like it's not like today there's this guild dominating everything, and then the next day this other guild break everything down, they're dominating everything, and now there's the like in 1 week the story has changed so many times that it's impossible to talk about this. That's not the kind of universe that we're trying to create. We're actually trying to create a universe where things evolve over time. And the last thing I was going to say was that, like, if you're a small guild on Profane, if you're a small guild, it's going to be easier for you to maintain the territory you're controlling with a city or a small village or anything you want, because like it's kind of the Roman Empire effect. Like like the bigger you are, the harder it is to hold and to be like to hold your ground. You know that game, that browser game Agario. The bigger you are, the harder the game is. Like when you're small, you can just go fast around and then try to avoid things. Like it's kind of the same concept. And Profane, if you have a small territory, it's going to be easier for you to hold it, even if there is a bigger guild trying to break you guys, because there's like just a small amount of walls that you have to repair, and you have to keep it up, protecting your buildings. You're not going to use a lot of resources to make that thing stay there. Now, like if you're a big guild, there's going to be a lot of walls around the city, and people are going to be attacking from all sides, just like the Roman Empire. And it's going to be much harder. It's
more
gonna,
resources.
You're going to have to be much more organized to be able to maintain that bigger territory. So the game should actually favor small settlements and guilds.
That's cool.
That's how you do it.
So we've got roughly 6 minutes. You think we can hit 6 minutes and then get back to discussing it? Because I know they want to see the rest of it. We're gonna fail. I'm just telling you right now. But we're gonna do our best, guys, to get through the rest of this YouTube here. So let's hold on, and we'll see if we can do it.
You're gonna have to put up with my faces because he's gonna talk a lot of things.
I'm trying not to show too much. I know. And then real quick, I've had a couple people ask some questions in there. So yes, I've never played Eve. I have followed it though. I'm not a big space person kind of thing. And I love the foundation in that world. Exactly. I think is probably one of the second best MMOs made for a sandbox, right? That is really player driven. So that's a good example. I just have no personal experience on it, but, all right, so let's hit this back up. Let's get down this, crazy alley here, and then we'll be good.
Much more revenue than hardcore players, and casual games generate much more than MMORPG games. Many people have said to me, well, you can make an MMORPG that makes enough money focusing on just hardcore players, and while I'm sure that's true, if you have spent the money, the time and the effort to make an MMORPG game, you will not be happy with a small amount of profit. If you have put in the capital to build an MMORPG, you will want a massive return on investment. This means you will need to cater to the casual audience as well as the hardcore. The MMORPG genre is relatively niche within the greater gaming sphere, and the hardcore PvP is niche within the MMO genre. There are, of course, players. There is a market. People still play Ultima Online, EVE, Mortal Online 2 is releasing. But there is nowhere near as many players as the vocal minorities of these games would have you believe. Now, I'm probably going to get some hate in the comments saying, we don't want casual players, go back to your casual theme park MMO, we're only for hardcore, tough, serious, full loot players. And that's another one of the issues with the hardcore, full loot PvP demographic. They tend to be incredibly aggressive and confrontational with anyone that doesn't believe that genre is the best.
I'll fight you right now.
For a game to survive long term, it needs to be
quick.
Yeah.
It's going to be real quick. I agree with him on this one.
I do.
I think it's a problem. Like the people that comes from theme park MMOs to try and play sandbox MMORPGs, they didn't have the experience we had. Like they're dropping, not understanding how open a world can be. If the community of sandbox MMO players were more open to explain to them how good it is to actually be able to make decisions in an RPG, which like role playing RPG role playing is one thing where you take a role and you have to make hard decisions based on the role you're perpetrating, so like the thing for me is when you are like if you're in a game that like calls itself an MMORPG like World of Warcraft, and you don't have to make any hard decisions, you just have to follow along. This is not RPG for me, because RPG for me is when you have to be in a world and you have to role play and you have to make hard decisions. Do I kill this guy? Do I kill my friend because I'm an assassin and he has the thing I want, or not? Do I?
Well, hold on. I have a question. Let me bring in a weird perspective for you. So this is something that I want to bring up. Is it okay? So if I'm in, and I'm going to just give you for instance, if I'm in WoW and I'm a paladin. Now, if you're old school, you have any type of D&D references, that is typically an alignment choice, which is where role-playing comes in, right? I could be chaotic good, but in the core fundamentals, I'm good. And I have been in WoW, and I've had a complete paladin be just a dick. Just, fuck you, this is my mob, right? And so my thought process, because of where I know, but no one really knows that deep of stuff, all right? I know, Lord, I do agree. But for a subjective grandma at 78 that decided to get on and play with her grandson to kind of have a shared moment, she doesn't know that paladins are virtuous people, which there are oath breakers. But to my point, I guess, and very close to what Bunny's saying, is when you're RPGing, right, you're role playing the game. If I'm in a full loot sandbox, I tend to make decisions that I know that will absolutely affect me, because if I play the dick, the corresponding reaction could be that of someone responding to the dick. Not as abrupt as honking the horn at a light, someone getting out and shooting them. That is not definitely the cause to pull a gun. Right. I'm just saying. But in a game, if I'm acting a fool, Joe Rogan is a lot of things, but he said something. Facebook has created the perspective that no one's afraid to get hit in the mouth anymore for saying something. RPGs bring that shit right to life, right? So I think what you're really saying at the core is even if we are playing an MMORPG theme, to be an MMORPG, you need to follow the alignment of said character. Does that make sense? And I think when you do that, that's why in WoW, it was a chaotic nightmare in Baron's chat. Right? I use that because everyone has been either near it or by it or heard it or read things on it. But when you were in Ultima, if you were a red character, visibly you were bad, your actions were bad, and you were either feared because you were bad, and you were red, which means you were super bad. Great movie. But if you were blue, you could be trusted. In essence. Now, I had a lot of blues kill me. But how was it when I went up to being a chaotic neutral, which was kind of gray, and there was you never trusted that person. Your first initial was, whoa, let me stand off. He's not bright red. He's not bright blue. And I think what we've lost in that later games has been that specific, or that specificity of RPG. And now what do? We call them MMOs. We've moved away from MMORPGs, maybe because we're really lazy and we just want to say MMOs, but really and truthfully, they're MMOs. And what you're trying to develop is an RPG, right? And exactly. I think what New World is trying to portray is an MMORPG, because you have the electivity to go and click on PvP and go be an ass or awesome, however you look at it, and kill people and engage in that combat peer to peer. So I'm not quite sure where people or why people have aligned that PvP is bad and PvP is a failure. And I think what he said was slightly true before we paused. I think that's important, that he had some really odd, convoluted based facts, but used them to manipulate his point. And here, I think he's actually right. And that kind of, I haven't seen this part. I stopped about 5 minutes ago when I first looked at it, because I wanted that true, like, holy shit. But I don't know. I mean, I think today, guys, I don't know about you, chat, but I think we're at a point where the people that want full loot PvP think they want full loot PvP until they get killed, and then killed again with their own weapon, right? I think the truest of that PvP, they're there, we're out there, we want it, but we just need to help other people understand it, set those expectations. And that's the problem.
We need to help people understand the importance of true RPG. That's what most people don't know. Nowadays, if you go to someone like those young people that just go around and say, oh, you know RPG? And they say, yes, like World of Warcraft. No, that's not RPG. You know, like it's so hard for me.
Right.
And now I have my nephews, and I just, like, they were saying bad things about what is actually RPG to me, and I said, okay, let's play Minecraft, but we're going to play Minecraft on a hardcore mode, and we're going to be together, and we're going to try to kill the Ender Dragon. That's like, I just want them to understand in a world where decisions matter. And you can talk about a lot of things about Minecraft. There's a lot of young people playing, but they're playing on creative mode or servers that they fuck up all the rules. But I'm talking about hardcore Minecraft. If you play it like with young people, they're going to understand what RPG is all about, because their decisions is going to matter. They're going to make their whole life a lot harder by making bad decisions, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to like full loot hardcore MMORPG players. They need to make people that come from theme park understand that they're not going to be taken care of, like they're not going to be protected against their own actions. That's what we want. When we need to tell them,
right?
Not go, toughen up, go find something else. No, we need them. We need them.
Right.
We actually need those kind of players to understand what they're missing. Otherwise, then I will agree.
But I do think we're toxic, though.
Will fail if we don't.
Right, and I think we're toxic because we have this sort of elitism, because we can take the punches and we can continue to play, where some people can't do that. So we've turned the 1980s Care Bear to a negative, and I think we are our own worst enemy when it comes to that. And I hope that we as a community can. And I think we've got a way, that Care Bear mentality, that whole you suck. And it's just like, dude, what? Like, what? Because I'm a little pissed that I lost my gear. Yeah. Okay. You're just better at it than me, but I've killed 4 other people before you. Right. So I think that perspective of the let's shoot a guy and move on to the next kill to let's shoot a guy and teabag him to prove that not only have we killed him in game, but now we've also hurt his ego by teabagging him to then move on to the next shot. Right. That's, I think, where we're at. And I think we're removing ourselves a little bit from the teabag mentality from the early 2000s and late 90s of Counter-Strike and so forth. Now, not completely, because we've went away from teabagging, and just when we have that death kill for the last 2 seconds, we can scream illicit and explicit things to the person for 2 seconds. Knowing that, we say very hurtful things because now we can voice our stupidity. I think that we just need to rein it back a little bit as a PvP community and understand that if we want to survive, because we are aging, I hate to agree with Fitz on this, but we are aging. We need to understand bringing our grandkid along. Some of us have them, Dorian, or our kids along to appreciate the RPG with PvP, which is your point, Bunny. I think until we start to do that again, there's no way we're going to end up killing ourselves off. It's going to be a problem. So we're almost there. We're almost there. I know we said we'd try to get through, but there was a serious point. But we will get back on this at 12. No, you're good. So I'm going to let him continue, and we'll hopefully be able to make it through.
Focus on cooperation rather than destruction. The hardcore full loot PvP design style attracts players who value the aggression and destruction it allows, and this bleeds into the general attitude of the community and often creates an extremely hostile environment for new players. When your MMO doesn't have a central story or PvE content and a new player joins, that new player's role within society instantly becomes target, and they get killed, and this happens as long as they try to level up. For as long as that player remains anything less than the most powerful player, they will repeatedly be a target, and then hardcore full loot PvP players wonder why so few people stick around for such a long time. Because the majority of players are casual, they are not hardcore. So a new casual player joins your game and you will scare them off by killing them repeatedly. A new hardcore player joins your game and they might stick around, but they are much rarer. PvP is a great game design space, and matches of skill and tactics are great, but the MMO is designed to be a forever game. And what this allows is an advantage to be gained and then held onto, and expanded and grown over time. While the NPCs in the physical world may reset, the player base does not. Higher level rich players continue to gain more levels and get richer. Lower level new players continue to get curb stomped. When you start playing a hardcore full loot PvP game on anything other than day one, what you will see is the MMO equivalent of intergenerational wealth built up and compounded. The strong get stronger. I know the Mortal Online 2 fandom dislike me, but they need to realise I'm not saying Mortal Online 2 is a bad game. I'm saying the hardcore full loot PvP design style isn't mainstream enough to support multiple MMOs. There are players who like this style out there, but not enough to supply multiple games with a consistent player base.
Fair.
And this can be seen in the numbers of players in the majority of hardcore full loot.
But I find it fair, though. I don't think he's far off from being sort of on point, right? And we just said that, but we actually didn't know this was going to happen. But he touched on a point about the aggressive nature of us beating up on non-new style PvP people. And then where someone who is PvP and understands those are the licks I'm going to take growing up. I'm going to get hit every day, and then eventually I'll get strong enough and hit back. But people who are new to it, we are not very friendly to those people. That is, I will say that.
You know why I don't agree with this thing that he says. That, when he say like it's not big enough to support multiple MMOs, I don't agree with this because first of all, the end game of Albion is a sandbox RPG with full loot and PvP and open PvP, and I don't believe that if you make another game, you're going to destroy Albion. You're gonna like the population is gonna increase. Is like what he's saying, as the same way we talked in the beginning of this when we were talking about battle royales. Like it's the same thing. You cannot go like back in time and go, when battle royales were not famous and say the player base of people who like battle royale is not big enough to support multiple battle royales. Well, right. You need a good example first, and then you're going to make multiple battle royales because there is one that show that you can make it. Like so, PUBG came out, and then Fortnite, which was another game, which was like a zombie defending base game. They said, okay, this works. Let's do this kind of game. And then another game, like I don't know, Fire something, and like a lot of other games came to battle royale thing. Like they want the good recipe. So like as long as one game shows that you can make actually make a full loot hardcore MMORPG, yeah, you're gonna grow the player base. Right. So you cannot just say that the player base is not big enough and then say that's why they're gonna fail. That's not true. You can like make an example first, and then we're going to make a lot of different MMOs that try to grasp the same recipe. You know, that's what I think about this. That's why I don't agree with it.
Yeah, now that perspective, I 100% with you on that, and I think it's very unfair to throw the bathwater out, or the baby out with the bathwater is a saying that they say. So it means just throw the whole thing out because we're not sure. The truth of the matter is that Ultima Online has proven it's worked. And everyone else has had to try to reinvent Ultima Online, and they've failed. All that's shown is we don't have enough room in the environment to have shitty games. It doesn't mean that multiple games that are greatly made and very well produced will succeed, as your point. And I think it's very disruptive to the morale of this situation with full loot PvP. And again, it goes back to what you said. We're not making a PvP MMO. We're making an RPG with PvP. And again, it's the wordsmith, right? It's how we decide to define what the game is that then architecturally puts us where we belong in the gaming world, right? And truthfully, it's very sad because he is not the minority in this situation. A lot of people believe what he is saying, and I think that's why he's got the views on this. There's a lot of thumbs up on this video, and I don't necessarily feel betrayed by what he's saying. I just don't feel that he has had a fair shake at the situation. Whereas you and I came up from the bottom. You and I started at UO, and we have played. How long did you last in Darkfall? I was in that for 3 months. The second division of it, I was in there for 2 months. Because it was shit. And I'm like, this is a problem. And I mean, if we're bringing up battle royales, what's the key factor there, though?
No.
Not pay to win, pay to look different. Now, please don't stop your development of your game so it can come out fast and start making fucking 727 different rideable mounts before you get out this freaking Alpha 2, like another developer that I've invested in stupidly. But my point is, though, is that's the difference. One of the problems that you find in games of any caliber is, why do I have to look like the identical twin, except I have a beard or not, or different color hair? I want to really look different and define myself. Now, I don't know how you do that in a development world such as yourself, but I do see what makes Fortnite popular is that I can look slightly different than the other nerd who can build a 4x4 in 20 seconds, 500 feet, right? But I can do it looking differently. And I think that is definitely I don't know that metric yet, or how that metric is defined, but that's why, I mean, Jesus, did you just look? They got Rick and Morty. Love the show. They got Rick and Morty characters. My son's like, I'm Morty. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? They have every comic book character now on the damn thing. So people who want to be Superman can be, right? And it's just like, it's genius. They're not doing crates. They're just making the world, and then you can play that game looking how you want. That's, I think, where they were successful. Now, as far as the MMO world, the problem is if you look at, and we've brought this PvP game up, Arcade. I had to buy a dog to loot my shit. I had to buy a bird to fish better. I had to buy this, and I had to buy that to do the game for quality of life. I think the quality of life should have been built in, and then I could buy any dog that looked like my dog, so it was more personable. I think you'd have made more money, right? So I don't know. I don't know how you are going to define that. And at the end, I would like to touch base on how you believe you can make that. If that's something in your mind, like, hey, we'll make different clothing, because your guys as artists, by the way, are fantastic. I've seen what your guys are doing at textures, and they're unbelievable. Your armor sets that just came out, Sarah put out like the last 2 weeks. Holy shit. Like, I mean, the leather armor looks incredible. So seeing that those are being developed, hopefully you're not going to change colors, but you'll change more fabrics and stuff like that. So I want to touch base if you've got a couple minutes at the end of this. I know I keep saying we've got 3 minutes. We'll do our best, I promise, to make it through the last 3 minutes. Unless Bunny decides he wants to say something.
PvP MMOs. Sword Art Online 1 peaked on Steam with 1,172 players. The Life is Feudal MMO shut down. Now some of you might be saying, but the New World closed beta hit 200,000 players. And that's right, it did. I was one of them. And you want to know what pretty major change they made from the alpha of the original design of the hardcore full loot PvP MMO to now? They've made the PvP opt-in, added a narrative story, and removed the full loot bit. You don't lose items on death. Amazon looked at the alpha feedback for their hardcore full loot PvP MMO New World, and what they decided was best for the future of the game was to make it more narrative driven and casual friendly, removing the hardcore, equipment damage instead of drop on death.
I'll pause so we can say it. Money. They changed it because they realized there was no money. And let's be honest, you don't fly a penis rocket ship to the moon if you're fucking developing non-money investment games. So I'm going to continue.
Death, removing the full loot, and the chance to opt into PvP instead of forcing you. They designed a hardcore full loot PvP MMO. They released it for alpha testing, and the majority of the alpha feedback was, don't make a hardcore full loot PvP MMO. Hardcore, full loot, PvP MMOs do have a market. There is a demographic playing them. However, these games often have difficulty maintaining their player base. Even if they start with a surge of players, mainly because of the novelty, they will slowly follow a downward trend. They have trouble with player retention. I hope if a hardcore PvP MMO releases, it does well. I don't like seeing MMORPG games die, but history has shown us that this design style is not casual friendly. And it's the casuals that really keep your MMORPG alive. If hardcore players want to say a hardcore game would last, they might need to face the reality that there are far more casual players than they would like to admit. If you're a fan of hardcore full loot PvP games and think I'm wrong, or if you've played some hardcore full loot PvP games and just have any input that you'd like me to see, either agreeing or disagreeing with me, leave a comment below and we can discuss the future of full loot hardcore PvP games together. Another massive thank you to the Patreon supporters.
So maybe we should link this video to him so we could see our whole conversation. No. Yeah. So
what he said in the end about what was it again?
Just like the not working and not becoming an industry. See, the problem is really what it boils down to, Bunny. And I'm going to say this, and then I'll just to start it off is what we're not talking about is the 700-pound elephant in the room. Those games were shit. Life is Feudal was shit. It wasn't optimized. I mean, I get it's hard and life is life, but if I actually really have to walk in a game, sorry, I've never played Mario Kart or Mario Brothers on fucking normal walking speed. I ran and jumped everywhere, right? The point is that every hardcore game that has failed wasn't because the populace, it's because the game sucked. And we are thriving and rivaling to find a game to call home. And we are our own worst nightmare. Our expectations for every hardcore game that's come out has fallen short, and we need to stop expecting so much, and just, I don't know, but that's the problem, and that's why Albion shit itself, because everyone was like, it's gonna be the best thing ever, oh my god, yes, and then boom, it sucked, and that was the problem, and that is where we're at. So that being said, I'm gonna say, please make Profane everything I thought it was, everything.
I will make it. I promise you.
So hey, real quick, guys, we're gonna.
One thing that he said.
That's right. Well, let me close this.
Go back a little bit?
You want me to go back? Okay, how far back?
Just so that I know less than 1 minute.
Let's see what we got.
14 maybe. Let's see. Let me just try to grab something back.
If you're a fan of hardcore PvP games and think I'm wrong, here's what to say a hardcore. I hope if a hardcore PvP MMO releases, it does well. I don't like seeing MMORPG games die, but history has shown us that this design style is not casual friendly, and it's the casuals.
Okay, so it not being casual friendly, like not all games are going to be casual, and it doesn't mean it will fail for not being casual. There are a lot of the games that are like realistic or games that you have to think a lot about the decisions you're making. There are all kind of games. It doesn't mean it's going to fail. Like my main issue with him is the title of his video. Why hardcore full loot PvP MMOs fail. That's not like none of the things that he told that he approached on his video is a good reason for me, because there is like good answers for every kind of stuff that he brought up. Like the only thing that I agree with him is that the community is always trying to push people that are not already in the community back. They're always saying, "Oh, this is not for you. I don't like this. I really don't like this because I spent my whole life trying to convince people that this kind of game is better." I get crazy. Like there's a friend of mine that he just like he purchased the alpha, like the last alpha version of the new world, and he asked me, "Hey, come here, we're gonna grab a couple beers and I'm gonna play, and then you can talk things about what you think about the game." And I was there drinking a beer and watching him play, and he was doing quests. He was just doing quests. I was like, "Do you really want me to say something? Because you're not gonna like this. You're playing World of Warcraft all over again, man. That's the same thing you've been playing your whole life." Like, that was so hard for me to try not to like to be a friend at that moment, because I wanted him to be happy that I was there, but he wasn't. He was just like, "Oh shit, why did I call him?" Because I was just like telling him that everything he was doing was like he was not even paying attention to the game. He was like more talking to me and doing quests like with the corner or his eye looking at the monitor. I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And I say, "Do you know how unimmersive it is to play an RPG where you're not making any decisions, you're just going along?" Right? And he was, yeah. I was like kind of pissed off at me that
I think it's important though, isn't it? Like, I mean, so let's okay, so reel back to your friend being excited about it. I believe he was excited about it because it said full loot PvP, and he knows that you're a purveyor of that and profane and all that stuff. And I thought and I don't know, he's not here, but I thought this goes back to verbiage, because their full loot was in there in the word PvP. He automatically thought, this is a game for you. Come check it out. He was excited. He was hyped, right? But then someone who truly understands what real full loot PvP, a sandbox RPG is, it's a very high cliff that you're looking down on. You know what I mean? And it's not a, "Hey, look at me, I'm pretentious. I'm a full loot enthusiast. Everyone else sucks. No other game is good." We're not saying WoW wasn't good, but you can't compare WoW to Ultima, right? And you can't compare Aeon to Ultima. You can't Albion to Ultima. You just can't, because none of those are truly that. And to be fair, I think to be fair, it's a contextual situation. And he said some good points at the end, and we had to go through about 9 minutes and actually 2 hours because we kept stopping it. But there were some good points at the end. And I think there was some revitalization in how I feel about like him as an individual. But I think at the beginning, you're right. I don't like the title. I do believe it's a very TMZ sexualized title to go, "Oh shit, let me click on that link." Right. But that's what it's for. You're a content creator on YouTube. You've got to have the flashy, the thing, and you got to have a sexualized, like, ooh, this controversial thing. But I think once he got past all the flamboyant facts and got to the mid to the end, I think he was saying a lot of true points. I think he really was coming about saying, they're all content scammers, Jay, but we are a shitty community in a perspective of welcoming newcomers, right? We're these salty ass old guys. Get off my lawn. Back in my day, we were at the Britain graveyard and we would do, I mean, we went down that rabbit hole in the podcast. We got so excited talking about how much fun, you know what I mean? And it's like, I think if there's a way that we can soften slightly, and I know that happens in age, right? There's that certain cockiness, and then there's that wisdom that starts to happen. You have this turn, right? And I think a lot of us, or our generation of PvPers, are getting to that point where we're going, "Hey man, maybe we could catch more bees with honey instead of vinegar." Right. And I think you're doing it as well by trying to redefine what an RPG is and not an MMO. right? And I think that's a healthy way to approach the situation. I just think, how do we as a community help other PvPers understand that? Great, they'll watch us and they'll see what we talked about and they'll go, holy shit, shed a tear. And then all of a sudden you're like the Grinch, you know, that show, and when his little heart starts beating and it gets bigger and bigger at the end because he stole Christmas and now wants to give it back. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But I do think what you're doing, or what you're attempting to do with your development of your program, and I want to swing this now since we're at the end to your development of Profane. And I know a lot of the people, thank you for sticking through this and hanging out with us and being very chatty and stuff. It does help with us with flow and stuff. But I think what you're doing at Profane and what we've talked about in the past, and now hopefully going to talk about now without Sarah getting too involved. I would like for you to help us understand what you are going to do differently with the thought in the producing of your game.
Okay. So, can I just say bad things about other full sandbox MMORPGs that came,
as long as they're true,
on this last year?
Yes.
It's not going to be as bad as you imagine. It's just going to be like some small things that are actually big. First of all, developers tend to mix the idea of freedom with the idea of realism.
Okay.
And that's a big thing. Like, let's talk a little bit about Life is Failed MMO.
Yep.
Like, on that game, everything, like, you could be creative and you could give yourself a lot of objectives, but to actually achieve them was a pain in the ass. Like, it was so hard, man. I just want to take a small chunk of this tree. I want a piece of wood, and then I had to open a context menu and see if I want to birch or if I want to scrape a little bit of it. And let me just hit the fucking tree,
yes.
you know?
Yes.
I've been working the whole day. I just want to come home and smash a tree down. I want it to be satisfying.
I agree.
Let's talk a little bit about juiciness in games.
Right.
Like, most of those games, they forget about that. They forget about one of the main things that makes a game a game. Let's like if you remember about like even the 8-bit games from like Nintendo, like Super NES or even 8-bit Nintendo. Like, the good ones were the ones that was satisfying to make the actions that you could do in there. And you cannot forget about this. This is the whole idea of playing games. You have to be happy about doing all kinds of actions that it delivers to you. So that's what we're trying to bring to Profane. It's not going to be realism. It's not going to be realism. It's going to be freedom.
Right.
And that's why I like to call Profane not an MMORPG, but an RPG MMO, as in RPG is the adjective, like that like describes the kind of MMO we're going to be playing.
Okay.
It's an RPG MMORPG. You know, I was going to say RPG MMORPG. So, on Profane, we want everything to be satisfying. You want to go there and smash a tree down so you can grab wood? Yes, go there and smash the fucking tree. You're going to click buttons, and your character is going to be smashing like crazy. You know, you want to, like, you're seeing a mountain in the horizon and you want to get there. It has to be fun. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, you're walking slowly right now because you're overweighted, and now you're going to have to go back to the bank and drop a few items, and then you can go back to walking a little bit faster. All these things, they are realistic, but they're not fun. So I want to focus on the fun part about freedom. Like, you can do whatever you want. And it's gonna be fun.
Now, when you say smashing a tree, you just walk up to it, hit a button, walk away, take a pee, come back, and the tree's cut, or are you talking more realistic towards? Not realistic, because I know that's what you're not trying to convey here, but are you saying more along the lines of like UO? Like, when I hit a tree in UO, it took 4 or 5 chops. You heard a thwack and a thud, and then the tree kind of broke apart. That, to me, that was very. It was good on the ears. It was if I felt I cut something. Now I go cut a tree in Crowfall, the most unoptimized game in 2020. Shit flies out of the tree. I got to fucking run over and pick it up. And if I don't get it, the guy in my group can get it. Now I did it for nothing. What is, when you say hit a button, can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Like, how do you feel? You know, I mean, not realistic, but I mean, nothing's realistic. It's ones and zeros. But are you trying to just get the job done, or are you saying there might be a little bit of not grind, because that's not what you want to say, but is it like, wow, like I walk up and I just hover over something and go, that's my herb? Or do I bend down? Does it feel more immersive, but without all of the context menus of, do I want to pick the pedal or do I want to pick all of it? I mean, like, where do you feel? Valheim was great, by the way. I would love to see a tree fall over and fuck me up and get damaged. I don't know if you can do that, but that was probably that was the most satisfying tree chopping I've ever had in a game, was Valheim's trees, right? So are you thinking something like that? I mean, like, and I don't want to give away anything crazy, and I know Sarah, like, really freaking out. And if you're having any spaz attacks or you need to start taking Valium, Sarah, you're welcome to jump in and hang out, and then you can kind of put on the secret word. But how do you feel like that? I mean, are you trying to get a happy medium?
You know, let's go back to UO.
Okay.
So you were talking about, like, on UO, despite the fact that you had to, like, double click your X and then click on the tree. This, for me, is just a limitation of how old the game is.
Right.
That's not that, like, I'm sure they could do something better than that, but it's okay. Like, you're double clicking your X, and then you're double clicking and then you're clicking on the tree, and your character is starting to smash the tree. Okay, so that's and then if you double click the dagger and you click the tree, you're not going to grab the same thing. You're going to grab, like, how do you call it? Like small
tinder,
something that you can
kindling
use to
and
make
tinder.
Empire.
Forgive me, Jesus. Yes. Wow, I do speak English. I promise.
So that's that's how you make good decisions. It's all about making good decisions. Like, how do you want the player to decide what kind of stuff he want to take out of the tree? Is it opening a context menu and then deciding, like, opening a context menu if he wants to take the I don't know, birch, how I don't remember the word in English, but like a tingling or wood or something else? Or is it like smashing with the right tool? Like, it's much like, just
I see what you're saying.
Like,
okay,
go for the tree and pretend you're attacking the tree with the right thing, and you're getting what you want. It's all about making the good development decisions that's going to make the player take the thing that he wants by only acting the way they want. They don't need to read context menu. That's so anti-immersive, and they're probably going to say, oh, but it's more realistic, but because you have to make a decision. No, it's not. Like, okay, realism sometimes is just boring, because, like, I remember on Darkfall where you, like, there was this time that you, like, for you to equip a gear, there was going to be like
it's like 10 seconds, dude,
for you to equip each part of your gear. That's so stupid. I don't want to wait for my character to wear things.
Right.
It's like, it's bad decisions, because they probably made this so you cannot change your gear in the middle of the fight.
Right.
But there is better decisions than that. Just like you on Ultima Online, when you try to change the gear in the middle of the fight, they like, there was like this small text that say you cannot do this right now.
Right.
Because you are in the combat. That's enough. When you're in the bank trying to change your gear, you don't have to wait for a bar to charge up for you to change your helmet. That's stupid. They're like not good decisions. Like, they're trying to they put realism so high up instead of just focusing on freedom, that they make bad decisions. That's my point.
Yeah, and I think I do think, when it's example of I mean, how many Ks do I need to watch a TV show? I think there's a certain part where you go past realism into almost it's too real and looks generated, right? So 4K, 8K, 27K. I mean, your eye only registers so many. I think it's 1028p. So it's or 1080p rather. Forgive me. But I guess the point that I'm getting at is, so you're not looking for a contextual situation where I have to go highlight tree, click. I want to have kindling, and then so forth and so on. When you're thinking, the decision making is in the weapon you choose, that decision's then made, because the cause and effect. If I pick up a dagger, I can only chip off of a tree, as opposed to picking up an axe, I can cut a tree. So that's what you mean by picking up, hitting a tree, and moving on. You're not sitting there for 20 minutes trying to develop a whole think plan to go through and get a tree cut down, which I like that. That's really good. I don't think it would.
It's just a small example. I just want players to act instead of think. Like use the thinking to choose good things for you to do on the long term.
Okay.
Like use the thinking to see the mountain and say, this mountain is going to be mine. That's what I want you to think.
That's awesome.
I don't want you to think about how is the best way to cut down a tree to get what I want. I want you to go there and act and see what comes out. It's kind of that's kind of what I like about Minecraft. Like, you just act and then you see what happens.
Well, let's be honest. This is Minecraft.
A little bit about this world.
I can literally go to Minecraft and go, I'm tearing that mine down. Like that mountain's done. It's going to take me 3 years to completely hack it away if I'm not in creative mode, but I'm taking that fucking mountain down, right? And I like that. And if you're looking to move towards the freedom of that, I love that option or that perspective, because I think that really brings in a lot of is that your mind works different than mine. We may have the same ideas, but how I got there might be different. And I think that is what truly gets to open up when you open up into a free-based game, right? And I think that's really, really very cool, because then what we're looking at right now on screen is the combat, right? That if you're thinking in that perspective, gameplay then changes dynamically on how I'm going to approach a guy in full plate. Right. Obviously, I'm going to take in calculations that if there's a negative to, whatever, however that works, right? You're going to work in having stamina debuffs if you have on heavy armor, like some people do. Whatever the case is, I'm not trying to squeak any hints out, but I guess what I'm getting at is, if you're giving that ability to a player, not one person, well, you'll get some theory craft, you'll get some bandwagons. Oh my God, this is the best thing to do ever. And then everyone's going to do that. And by the end of the week, you have everyone being a flame mage. Right? They're a fire mage. You're fucked. No one's playing with frost. No one's playing with. So in that perspective, do you have any ideas on how to combat meta? Because there will always be meta. But are you going to be the type that puts more in to adjust the meta, or are you going to be the type that completely just fucking kneecaps it and goes, sorry, dude, that build sucks now because we took away half the damage? What is your guys' development philosophy on like meta gaming and stuff like that?
First of all, I love your questions, Ox. Thank you. For me, we could be talking like once a month or something, because your questions are great, man. Okay, so about meta, the first thing is that I've seen a lot of games changing the meta while the meta was not the actual meta.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen this while we were trying Profane on the pre-alpha version.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was people that saying, mounted combat is meta. Like, you did mounted combat is so cheating, because if you're not mounted when you're like in the middle of a combat, you're gonna die every time. And that was not true. That was not true, and I did it on purpose. There was this special kind of plant that if you eat it and you combine with the use of a potion, you're going to be on, and you're not on a mount, it's going to be much better, like moving around and trying to hit your enemy, than being on the mount. Because when you try to attack people mounted, you're going to lose a lot of movement speed while you're actually doing the attack. And if you use this combination, you're not going to lose speed. So it's actually better. And just a few players actually discovered this, and they were like they kept the secret, and like they were only using it when the situation was really bad, and they say, okay, we're gonna have to use the real man around right now. And people were still complaining on our forums that that mounted combat was meta in the game. And like, so that's just a small example. It was pre-alpha. It's really just a small example. But what happens a lot in games is that the developers should wait a little bit, before changing things because players are complaining, because the meta is probably not the meta. You have to give them time to discover the actual full spectrum of possibilities until they really find a meta, and then you can change something. Then you can go ahead and say, okay, this is probably not good, because like if you see that most of your player base is starting to take on that role, that's not good. That's not going to be good, because you have a lot of content, you have a lot of skills, using Profane as an example, where you can collect skills around the world and then you can make your build. Like if our players like collecting a lot of skills around the world, they are making the same build, that's not good, because players are going to stop exploring the world. So we don't want that. So we're definitely going to change the meta, but we don't have to go ahead of ourselves, because probably, and I think 90% of the time, the developers are wrong, assuming that what the players are complaining about is the actual meta. No, they don't. Like, obviously, it depends on the game, but most of the time it's not going to be the meta, man. Like if your game have a lot of content, there is something else players did not discover yet, and this meta is not going to last even if you don't change anything. Right. And on top of this, just one small thing about this is that there are ways where you can make things like the meta. The meta is always going to be there, but there are ways where you can make the game not the meta not being so how do you say this, so obvious, because when you have a lot of different situations, there is a lot of ways you can deal with that situation, so if the situation you're in is going to be better for you to use bow and arrow and fireballs, then for that situations, that's the meta. If the game is dynamic enough for you to have like a lot of different situations, there's going to be a lot of different metas for different situations. So it's not one thing, like it's not one build,
So no, you're good and you're great, and I want everyone to understand, if you did not get what he heard, he dropped 3 major hints of the type of development and the type of gameplay you could think forward to. That not everything's in your face. You need to search for things. And oh, by the way, there's combination of things that could make cool things. So what he just said, and what I picked up on was, "Hey, dumbass, it's not going to be handed to you. Wake up." And I love that, and I've known that for a while, because we did the podcast and stuff like that. What we're showing in the background is just some quick footage of some of the stuff to kind of expect and all that. So I'm just running through some pre-alpha stuff in the background. But yeah, what I think a lot of people are so used to is the best way to describe it is the microwave society, right? Back in the early 80s, not a lot of people had microwaves. You had to cook stuff. Mom and dad came home, they then cooked for 30 to 40 minutes. Now you can come home and put in freaking ramen noodles in the microwave 3 minutes and feed half the family, right? And I think it's that instantaneous gratification that a lot of us have become accustomed to. And not even that, but just a slight bit of effort gives far too much on the back end. And I think what sandboxes do in general, whether it's Profane, whether it was Life is Feudal, but any type of sandbox itself, you really tend to have to earn what you need. So I think that's one of the reasons people get a little upset when they lose their stuff. It's because they really had to try hard to get it. Now, Life is Feudal, I died the first time. I was like, bitch, I'm out. I lost 3 days of work. I'm done. Right? I was losing time, and that time I could be doing something else. But in games like this, and games like we've seen in the past, one of the things that I think we really have to understand is there needs to be a paradigm shift in how we see and deal with up and coming MMOs in general. And I think if we can get past that, it'll be really, really good. And we just need to get there. And I think that truly is a certain possibility that we can overcome, but I don't know. I don't know. Like you said, again, we hinted at this. You're like, they're on there complaining about meta. They're whining and bitching on the forums that, oh my God, mounted this, mounted that. And a select few of people who were smart enough to go out and click a potion with the, whatever, they were like, holy shit, dude, we got to keep this under wraps because this is awesome. And that I love. The Google Society, I hate. We talked about that on the podcast, right? Remember back in the day when we were dealing with EverQuest, right? I mean, you could not find a map. Even Alakazam was in its futile stage, right? It was so small. You had to make your own maps. I had books of maps. I miss those days. And I know you said that that's something you're hoping to bring back from, when Profane comes out. And I don't want to. I want to keep it to some close friends, right? And that will keep my friends closer, because if I'm just sharing my information out to whoever, well, if we lose, we have a fallout, my guild has something goes screwy, well, guess what? All the information that we collaborated together with is now the world's, because wherever they go, they're going to share for that leg up. And I think that's, again, another reason or another way that you could build your own story. So for me, what I'm excited about when we talk and we discuss kind of your future perspectives and prospects for Profane, and one of the reasons that I've been just absolutely craving more. I know you guys have coming up. Is it the character select stuff, the next phase that you guys are going to be testing, kind of looking over that character creation?
Yeah, the first thing we're gonna do is character creation tests.
Okay.
So we're taking it slow now, because when we released the pre-alpha, we had some major problems like every other MMORPG.
Right.
So we were a little bit ahead of ourselves. Like the first day of the pre-alpha was real. It was a real chaos, not sandbox MMORPG chaos. It was like real chaos.
Right.
But like servers were not working, people were getting disconnected all around, and right now and there was a lot of things for us to fix, and we were a little bit ahead of ourselves. So this time we want things to be perfect.
Okay.
It's not I know we're not going to achieve perfect, but we want to try at least.
Okay.
So before opening everything up, trying to make a big boom, we actually want to try things with the community step by step, so they can give feedback. This community is with us for a long time now, and they want to help. Yep. And we want to grasp this. So we want them to be able to help without being like, okay, you're helping us, but together with a lot of new people coming in, they don't want to feel that. I know they don't want to feel that. They want to be able to actually help, and they want us to be able to read their comments and all. So we're going to do this step by step, so we can respect what they've been through with us, and we want to do things in the right way.
Very cool.
And I love this video that you just put. This is a world boss. It's called Conhit. It was the way it worked was that this boss was only after 7 p.m. and you could see it walking under the ground, and then there is no way you can find how to actually begin a fight with it. And then there are some glowing trees around him, and if you try to grab these trees, there is this glowing fruit. If you toss the glowing fruit on the ground, then he's gonna come out, because this boss, he ate the glowing fruit. So, and then
wow!
Then the fight started.
So it was like it was like a puzzle on how to figure it out.
Yeah,
and this is open world, right?
Kill it, you get a fermented glowing fruit, which is recipe for making explosion potion that you can throw at people, and it was super. It took like half your life with one potion.
Wow.
So that was a nice thing about this.
It looks good. What are they running? Are they running? Are they on wargs? Wolves?
Yeah, it was called Wolf Hog. It's like kind of a mixture of.
Oh, I see its snout. That's awesome. Okay, I saw it as he turned around. Okay. So this is a world boss that you're obviously. I'm assuming the red names are the PvP, because it looks like they're fighting each other as well. Okay.
No, they're not. They're not.
No?
Actually, this is a guild. Like the way, if you see to the right side of the name of everyone, there is
Rag.
The guild name, which is Rag, which stands for Ragnarok, which was the name of one of the main guilds in the pre-alpha, and they were everyone is on the same guild. You can see that.
I see. Rag. Okay.
We just want people to stop seeing the karma of everyone else just because they were on the same guild. So you can see Rag as green because it's on the same alliance, but the name is going to be blue or red or
okay,
or gray, depending on your karma.
Very nice. You know, they got to start putting out 4K stuff, man. Headhunters. Why do I know that? Hold on. Why do I know that name? Headhunters. That's Dorian. So my buddy Dorian is in Headhunters. It could be another guild.
In Darkfall, which was called Headhunters.
Yep.
It was mainly a Brazilian guild on Darkfall. But this is a different guild. It's not the same.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Although they were Brazilian as well.
Okay.
It's not the same guild.
Okay. Yeah, this looks awesome. So, do you guys have? I know that you have a tentative plan. Hey, Sarah, do you have the link for your tentative alpha? I think it's the month by month. I know it's on Instagram. I wanted to show everybody that so they can see. What the fuck was that? Did he die? That was a funny little. It was like a sound effect that he did.
I don't know what happened.
Now, is that a healing spell? Oh, that's cool.
That's a healing spell. You're seeing the spectrum of it.
Yeah.
Like one of our decisions is to make the all spell casting. You can see a spectrum of it before you cast it, so you can understand the skill without having to like read the tooltip. Like, of course, if you want to really understand it, it's better if you read the tooltip.
Right.
But the spectrum will always try to make you understand it without having to, to read it. This is borrowed from Smite. Like, it's the MOBA Smite.
Yes. I actually play it. I like it.
For me, it's one of the best third-person action PvP games. Like, for me, like, I really liked it. And there is a lot of things we're like inspiring ourselves in that is Smite-like.
All your items drop. Wow, when you die here.
What? Yeah.
That's awesome.
You're gonna lose everything. There are other videos with like guilds, like mass PvP between guilds. I don't know.
So this is on YouTube. Now let me ask you a question. Are you doing open-ended? No anti anything, or are you guys saying, hey, look, we no agreements. You can broadcast, your different phases, or do you have any plans for that?
It will depend. Right now, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to answer
That's okay.
to you right now. Like, for this first tests, it's going to be internal. Or there's going to be an NDA. We don't want people to, like, it's like the character customization, the new character customization thing. We don't want people to
well, I put in for that and did an NDA as well. Because I saw that. But hold on, I just have to explain something. Hey, Dorian, the whole point was to confuse him with all the other things, but not the actual words. So hopefully he would tell us. Look, sometimes a content creator has ways the reason he does things, and you could see how he couldn't quite understand what I was saying, and he almost said it, and then he was like, "Oh shit, hold on, yeah, NDAs, we can't do that." So if I go right to the actual term, he's going to give me the actual answer I don't want. Sorry, Sarah. I tried to trick him.
Like, if you want, one thing we could do? I can, like, open this. The first thing first. What we're seeing right now is a pre-alpha.
Right.
It's not like nothing you're seeing is represents what you're gonna see in the new version. Like, the art is being completely reworked. Everything is being completely reworked.
Okay.
It can represent a little bit of our intentions, but
right.
It's not going to be. Thing. You can show it. It's not a problem. It's on YouTube. It's okay. Everyone can see it.
Right.
But it's not representing what we're creating right now. We did a lot of new things, like a lot of we revamped the whole art, we revamped the whole netcode. Everything is going to be better.
Really?
So with this in mind, like please don't forget about this. We can make another live if you want, where I can open the pre-alpha again. That the pre-alpha, what I mean is what we were seeing right now.
That version.
And we can just explore that a little bit. So I can explain everything we did back then. I can explain how it all came out and our intentions and what is going to be the same thing, what is not going to be the same thing. If you want, we can. And I'm speaking this right now to you, like with everyone hearing, because it will be super okay for me.
Okay.
I can send you the client, and we go, like, both of us in there, and we just explore a little bit, and I show everything to you.
All right. What we'll do offline is we'll keep them guessing. What we'll do offline is we'll connect, because I am going to be traveling Sunday to next week. We'll give some time. I know you're very busy as well, so maybe we'll figure out a determined time. You guys will also be able to put that on your, obviously on Discord. Let them know, and we can definitely do that and get the guys where we started, and then to get them hyped up about all the improvements that you can speak of. Not obviously NDA issued, but and it'll get some hype. I think it'd be really, really cool. Yeah, we could definitely do that. We'll do it offline, and then we'll make a big thing about it. I'll get it on my broadcasts, and so a couple of weeks it'll drum up some stuff, and I think that'd be really cool. I do. I know it's late. I know it's wicked late for you. It's getting wicked late for me. I don't want it to end, but all good things do come to an end, and this was absolutely fantastic. If you guys decide to, and I mean chat, you guys have any things that you wanted to be followed up on, you guys want questions asked or answered, they've got a Discord. Of course they do. Sarah, if you want to link that Discord link here, for those of you who don't have access to the Discord, we'll get the link to you, and we'll be able to kind of get you involved in the community. And I want to tell you, they have a fantastic community, very welcoming. He's not lying. They've been around for quite some time. They do want to see this specific MMO, I just did it, this specific RPG successful. So it's a very good fundamental core group of people who have decided to, honestly step up and say, hey, we want to make a game that we all have wanted to play. And I know Bunny has all the funding needed to do this. Him and I talked on a podcast. If you guys go take a look at that, or take a listen to that, I guess would be the proper. It'd be really cool because you can find out why they're doing what they're doing. We did a real hard look on them on Gamers Corner. That's the podcast that myself and my co-host, who's not here tonight, but that's what we do. We highlight developers. We highlight game developers, studios, content creators. If you have a favorite person you like to watch on Twitch, let us know. It's actually a really good way to get that stuff. And that's actually how I ended up meeting Bunny. I started harassing Sarah Mantis months and months and months and months ago on Instagram. And I was like, son of a bitch, you ever been on a podcast? And he's like, hold on, let me see. And then eventually he's like, shit, you're not going to stop, are you? And I was like, no, dude, you got a cool ass product. You got a great thing going here. And, I mean, he did like the dick pics. I'm not going to lie. I started sending those, and that's when I got my first response. Let's do something. So I don't know if it was because of the nudes or if it's just because he liked everything else. But honestly, where we stand, that's what we do. And I'm excited that we can continue our relationship. Not in front of the boss. But no, this was actually very breathtaking for me to be with another complete PvP nerd. And I got to share that moment, and it was really cool. And we talked about possibly doing another podcast down the ways, but guys, if that's something you want to hear or you want to see, let them know. Let them know. This is their journey. I'm just making point A to point B, or I should say question mark to exclamation mark to go theme park, ride to that easier, right? And I'm just being one of the vehicles that they're using. I'm very, very excited to be involved to this level, and we are working on some stuff. I don't know if behind me, if you guys can see my fucking big head, but that's a 3D printer. And we're talking behind the scenes on quite possibly doing a kick-ass project for them. So that's in the works right now. It's a surprise for me, let alone a surprise in general. So I'm excited. Well, they don't even know, so I got to tell them. So let's see. So this is what I do, and this is a sort of really shitty plug. If any of you guys have ever seen, I'll do this one here first because it's the biggest one I've got sitting around, and I've got to build it, and I've 3D printed it, and I do painting of models and stuff, and I'll show you where I'm getting. But I ended up doing, which is not complete, but it's Howl's Moving Castle, the movie from Ghibli Studios. And, I'm going to basically go crazy, paint it, do all the modeling on it. I mean, it's huge. This thing weighs about 3.5 pounds. It's going to stand once it's on feet, a little higher. Yeah, I would like this as a flying mount, please. So they were like, holy shit, that's cool. And I was like, hey, how do you feel about getting me a cool ass figurine? Like, I don't know, this cool dude right here with an axe or something really neat. Let us do that for, and then, do it as a giveaway or something for somebody. But, so they're like, hell yeah, man, that's badass. Like, we'll talk about it. So then they got on tonight and they're like, we have a surprise for you. I'm like, shit, what is it? So the really, really, really cool part about working with them is they're so open to different ideas of creativity for their project. And Bunny, I gotta say, man, I love peering into the deep, dark, sexy beardness of you and your thought process on kind of just your perspective on gaming. And I think the community enjoys it as well.
I've been my English has been increasingly worse through all of this. I don't know what's happening. Like, I think it's the fault of me drinking sake the whole time.
That's okay.
But I can speak Portuguese. I'm just kidding. Like, Ox, this was awesome.
Cool. Glad you enjoyed.
Very much for standing up to reacting to that video with me. I know we have some chemistry. We have some a lot of things in common.
Yep.
And it's actually good to talk about this the way we do, because even if we have the same gamer history, most of the games we've played,
yep.
There are a lot of things that that you experience that is different from the way I experienced it. So when we do this kind of talk, there is a lot of learning from my side.
Right.
There is a lot of things I know that I can bring to the team so we can make a better game. And if you just want to continue doing this kind of stuff, I will be flattered.
Absolutely,
it's awesome.
I love it. So I know that. Thank you, and I know that, guys. We're gonna have some more. We have ideas of possibly a monthly podcast where Sarah Mantis, myself, and BunnyJoker get on, and we discuss different things that pertain to how he's developing the game, and sometimes they drop kind of cool tidbits and breadcrumbs for us. Like we did on the last podcast. I mean, look, they're really open to getting the word out. Obviously strategically, right? They're not just going to come in here and go, hey, by the 13th podcast that we've done, you're going to know everything. But they're doing it very smart, and they're doing it in a way to try to engage with the community, because they've already said how much the community matters. So I mean, if you guys have ideas, I'm on there as well. Ping me. But Sarah Mantis is really the funnel. We get the blessing from Sarah Mantis, and then we can move forward. So I've put up a bunch of cool different ideas to kind of help get that push through. And I do want to say this straightforward, and I do think this is very important, Bunny. And I've worked with other studios before, and I just want you guys to know that nothing is free. I'm going to buy my copy. I do believe that does keep me biased. So there isn't holy shit, I've got all the best things in the game because I was on a podcast. That is not the type of way I create content. This is all straightforward. Clarity is important. There's integrity in what I do with my content creation. And I only deal with people who I get along with. If I'm having a debate,
I'm gonna give you a castle in the clouds and a flying mount.
Listen, I want a wand of death. I just want to walk around and poke people so they die. No. But it's really cool of you guys to even invite me into your close-knit family of friends that you've created in your environment. So the journey is always fun, especially if we're all having fun. So I get to pay double for that. Is that what it is? I have to pay the collector's edition for the single normal mom and pop edition. That's great. but look, in the end of the day, I'm not the leader of the community. Sarah Mantis is. Sarah Mantis is absolutely a fantastic addition to the team. We learned about Sarah Mantis and how he came on board, during COVID and stuff. So that's really cool. And how it's tough and the struggles that he has being the community manager, because he is also a art-based individual. He uses that mental hands-on type of thing. So him trying to do his, and it's quality. If you guys, profane MMO at profane MMO for Instagram, you should see the things that he's putting together for the weeklies. I believe it's every Friday. We got one coming out hopefully not tomorrow. The content, that's what pulled me in. So I'm being serious. If you guys like the art style, which I love, it's very fun and easy on the eyes. But I think you guys will have a lot of entertainment to catch up on. You got weeks. So if you're new, check them out. We will do more. I will tell you, I'm always open for more, so don't blame me if they don't come back. It's their fault. I'm just putting it out there as a disclaimer. But he's very busy. We actually had this planned, I think, for Tuesday, and we had to reschedule for today, so it actually worked out really good. This is usually my off day, so it's a special broadcast. But I do want to say thank you to the Profane community, and thank you to you guys. You are kick-ass, and we just need to get you drunker, and I think we'll hear more cool stuff about the game.
Yes, I make good sake. You're going to know everything.
So, a lot of cool stuff coming down the line. Again, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you. And Bunny, I appreciate you guys. And we'll hopefully find out some new ideas to collaborate. So keep an eye on their info. If you want to find out if anything I put out, it's at Oxford for everything. Instagram, here, of course, and Twitter. So we're going to be putting this up on YouTube. It'll be on there as well. I'll get that link over to Bunny. Again, it may be a couple days before I get it because I do have to leave town in the next 2 days, and I've got a lot I got to do. But I do want to get this up. I'll cut it up a little bit, take off the back end of what we're doing now, and put what we just did for about roughly 2 hours up on YouTube to get that up there. So you guys will get the link if anybody missed it. And, of course, you could always come back and look at the VOD here. And I'll get that VOD to you immediately when it posts and finishes Sarah Mantis tomorrow. But Bunny, anything in closing? Anything you want to kind of say goodbyes or any of that fun stuff?
Ox, I just want to say thank you, man, for everything. Like your channel is great. Your voice is great. I just love hearing your voice. So you can talk about any kind of subject. I'm gonna love it.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for giving us the space to talk about all this kind of stuff. Like it's really important for me. Like that's my life's project, and being able to talk about it. It's not every day, you know. Like most of the days, I'm just dealing with. Developing and running the company and all, and being able to stop a little bit and talk about all this, it's great for me. And having someone that actually understands what I'm talking about,
right.
And being able to explore the unique things that can come out of a game like this, for me, it's awesome. So cool. Thank you very much. I hope this was great for you.
Absolutely.
It was definitely great for me.
Cool.
And I don't know, congrats. You have a great channel.
Thanks, man.
You have everything. I just want to make your channel like boost up.
Well, that'd be great, man. Hey, look, I mean, we could work together, right? But I mean, I know that there's another developer. I don't know if you saw in chat, Lord. I'm gonna mess this up more Prosen. So maybe you two can connect and come up with great ideas as well. I mean, obviously, you're not going to tell them all your cool stuff, but Lord, hook up with me. I love talking to developers, as you can see. I love meeting new people. I love getting with content creators. And if you want to do a podcast because you don't want to put your face on and don't have a beard like us, completely understandable. You're on the Discord. Awesome. We'll talk. So guys, girls, and everyone in between, I do want to end this cast with something that's very important to me. We did it on the podcast as well. I know he's going to go, oh man, I remember that. What we do support here is mental health. And I want you guys to know if any of you have any issues, find someone to talk to. It's really important. Don't feel you're alone out there.
I would say he has a great beard.
Well, then we're good. Then we're good, Lord. So, but yeah, mental health is mental wealth. You guys really tap into that. It's been a crazy year with this COVID shit, and I want you guys all to know that I may only know you for a few seconds, but you got to talk to somebody, and I personally do. And it was a mind-opening thing for me and my wife going through cancer and MS. And it was a way for me to talk to somebody and kind of feel my emotions out. I mean, I wasn't over there crying and shit and Kleenex. It was just a good way to talk. So it is healthy. And if you can find a gamer friend you've been with for a long time, talk it up. It's always great. But guys, we'll call it. It's 10:18 Eastern. I know it's 11:18 for you, and you guys are awesome. I don't know what else to say, but you're doing a kick-ass job, and I can't wait for the next one.
Next one? There's only going to be one game in my life, man.
Well, I mean, if you do great, you might move on to like a different one, right? And then you're creating all kinds of them, and you'll prove him wrong that every RPG PvP, there's more room than one, right? So, yeah.
I'm going to expand Profane forever.
That's awesome. Perfect. All right, guys and girls, be well. Bunny, I'll catch you off stream. Sarah, jump in on the Discord, man, and we'll catch up and we'll finish up here offline. But guys, girls, and everyone in between, you're awesome. Be well, be safe, and when I see you, I see you. Peace.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.